Welcome to another episode of Come Together. I don't have to do any more introductions anymore because I recorded one or pre-recorded. Did you hear them?
No,
I have an intro, outro. Go to the podcast. Put any of the last 5 or 6 on.
Actually pulling up.
Pull up the first 15, 20 seconds of any podcast I did in the last. I think I started after Cosmic D, after what's her name?
My podcast.
Deanna. She's awesome.
It's so funny because the first thing I was about to say is like you need an intro and a song.
I just got an intro and I played it myself on the guitar.
Do you do a solo? Do you want it?
No, it's just
do you do a?
It's a little strum pad here. It's like
When it's a solo episode, do you do an intro?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Try it. Welcome to another episode of Come Together. I think skip the last 10 seconds. Recently.
Oh, too much.
All right, here we are. The last 10 seconds.
Oh, the last 10 seconds?
Yeah, because it's an outro. It's intro, outro. So this is becoming increasingly working hard to keep this podcast great for you all. That's it, yeah. So long for now, and I hope to have another episode this week. That's you. That's you. I'm talking to you. Thanks for listening as always, and working hard to keep this podcast great for you all.
Wow. Is that an outro?
Wait, no, listen.
Is that an outro? Oh.
Have a good day, everyone. Talk to you soon. Have a good week.
That's it.
What? That's it?
That's it.
So I forgot to add the outro to the end. Whoopsie.
Oh.
It goes like, I'll show you. It's and that's it. Just do little strums.
Yeah, it makes it authentic because like it's not like you can get it out from your computer or Mac.
No, I just did it. Yeah, I just did it.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So
cool. Are you gonna do like before the guest comes on? You'll be like, so this week I'm joined by.
No,
like,
I'm not gonna do that. No, that's too not my speed, and
I hear that.
I kind of feel like I should a little bit because, like, for example, like you're on, and I'm gonna advertise that you're in med school, L'chaim. Whichever cup I finish first, I'll have to fill the beer up with. You know, advertise you're in med school, but we'll probably talk about a lot more things than just being in med school. So, like,
right.
I kind of should, but I also feel like that's part of the fun. Is just like seeing where the conversation's gonna go and like having that experience. You know.
I hear it does take away from like someone's like the like it sounds like you're listening to an official thing versus just like people chilling, which I guess is two different approaches theoretically. But like if you do something like where you start talking about the person before they get on, it does take away from that vibe. I hear that. Yeah,
and also like you know, I don't know where we're gonna go usually, and I could do a video after, but yeah, it's always surprising to me, like, you know, like for example, I'll judge a podcast I listen to, whether I'm going to listen to podcasts based on the guest a lot of times, right? So if Rogan has some comedian on that I don't really know or care about, like I'm not gonna like listen to it, but then I'll like see clips on Twitter or Instagram later. Like, oh, they talked about that. Like, I want to hear them talk about that, you know. And so I have to go back and check it out. So,
but they're not saying that in the description.
But they're not saying in the description. Like, you don't know what they're going to talk about, you know. And then I feel like if you put on what it talks about, then like it's hard to do it without sounding clickbaity, you know. Like, like 5 ways to like avoid med school debt, you know. Like, what can you do with Shua Edelstein, you know? Like, I don't know. It feels a little cheesy. So, yeah, so you finished. So tell me, so yesterday you took, what test was this? And why did you have to fly to New York for it?
So I'm wondering how in-depth to go here.
Go very.
Go very?
Go very.
I don't know if you're ready.
I could try.
You could try?
I'll let you know if I'm not ready.
Okay. I don't know if the listeners are ready. The tens of thousands of listeners.
Well, get ready. Buckle up.
So this was a journey.
A journey.
The whole med school is a journey, but I don't know how far back I should go. But
I remember that when we met, one of the first distinct conversations I remember that we had when we met was you telling me that you were thinking about going to med school, and then you dropped out. Did you drop out? Or you said that you didn't think you could do it, and so you decided to push it off for a while?
Yeah.
And then you moved down to Florida because you finally got yourself together enough to go through it. And now, what is this? 4 years
How do you
later,
remember that?
3 years later. How do I remember that?
Yeah. Did
I
it?
don't know. I remember that conversation. I remember thinking to myself, well, because it's actually I wanted to talk about this too at some point. Um, most people in the world, like an enormous majority of people, would never start med school with a wife and 2 kids, and like,
I thought you were gonna say most people in the world wouldn't start med school at all.
oh well, that too, but certainly not if you have a wife and 2 kids and you're 27 and you were 26
26
when you started, so which means you knew you're probably going to be into your early 30s by the time you finish.
Right.
And that's I know a lot of people just wouldn't feel comfortable doing that, and
I feel like that's a lot of the like in the Jewish world. I don't know if that concept exists so much as like the
right, which is
time
what I
because
want to talk
everything
about.
is screwed up in the sense that like you get married before you have a job or before you really have a plan in
Yeah.
life, which is I guess part of the intricacies of my story. But whereas everywhere else, like there's a plan, you have something set
Yeah.
up. You went to school without a girlfriend, without a wife.
People's parents don't let them get married until they have a job,
Right, and they're
until
making
they
money.
have like a career and like a plan. And some people don't wait until like they've made enough money to support their first couple of kids before they even get engaged. Like,
Which is pretty crazy, especially because if you think about like med school, and to do that at the end, I mean, you're gonna wait until you're. So there's pros and cons to both, but you're gonna wait until you're 30 plus. I guess that's normal
to what?
to get married and then start
Oh
a
well,
family after
right.
you
So
have your
in
career.
today's world, it certainly is, and I'm sure that in huge. I think that there's a big emphasis on comfort over over everything else, and so you don't do something unless you're comfortable and ready to deal with it, as opposed to kind of throwing yourself into something and saying, well, because I don't think anyone, whether you're 20 or 30 or 40, is ready to get married if they haven't been married before. No one's ready to be a dad unless they've been a dad before,
Right.
like, and even then you don't know that you're ready,
Right.
so I don't know what that necessarily means. I guess one of the things that you could pinpoint and identify what is that, like, of all the things that you're going to be dealing with and all the new things you'll be dealing with, at least money is not going to be one of them. But I don't know if
You
that'd
want
be,
stability.
yeah, but I don't know if that's a better argument or better case to be made, to push off getting married. Like, I don't know if that's going to make your life necessarily any easier. Like, it might bring you something bring you guys together to like have to work through something together. Like, I don't know.
There's something more authentic to going through med school with your wife and like
Yeah, so tell me about it.
appreciating.
So let's hear the process. Let's hear the story.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because everyone's like, "Oh, it must be so hard to go through med school with the wife and kids," and in a way, it's a lot easier.
You think so?
And I think so. Weighing both sides, I think everything said and done, it's a lot easier. It's easier, not a lot easier. It's easier to go through because you have your meals taken care of for you.
Right.
You don't have to worry about food. You don't have to worry about. I mean, what else do you have to worry about theoretically? That they
Have
Tova
we?
took care of all the bills, which is shocking for a lot of people. Like
Yeah,
especially like yeah, like a woman do it. Like she took care of everything so that I could focus on school.
but not
That
everyone
was
has a wife that does that.
well,
Not everyone has a
right.
wife
That's
willing to
true.
do that, and not everyone
No,
has
that's true.
like Tova's a superhero, a
Yeah, she
superwoman.
is. It's amazing that she and like everyone's like, what? How do you do that? How do you build? How you building stuff? Your husband's supposed to do that. You can't build.
Dude,
I'm
I
like,
can't build anything. When Rachel and I got married and we moved into the townhouse, we slept on the floor for like forever because I wouldn't build the bed. And then one day she was like, "Listen, I'm building this," and I was like, "Whether you like it or not." And oh, the sun's in the way.
yeah.
Okay, let's hang on.
Right. So Rachel said she's gonna build it.
She's gonna build it, and then I was like, I can't have my like I've been married for like less than a year. I can't have my wife building like my bedroom furniture for me.
Right.
So I brought a bottle of tequila to the room, and I was like, for every part that we successfully built together, we'll take another shot.
Wow.
And we ended up taking like 3 or 4, and then being like, okay, that's plenty for like 10 o'clock on a on a
Rachel wants to
Monday.
drink.
Yeah, she wants to. It's like not ever having done it before and like trying something new and unfamiliar. Like for me, that's generally a very difficult thing to do. Even if I'm told I would love it, even if I'm told like new things and unfamiliar things I hate. So
Right.
so so like, but once I do it, I have no problem doing it. Like once I get thrown into, so like once I was just like in the activity and on the floor and building and I have
And
a
drinking.
screwdriver and I have the drink and I have the drink and I'm looking and I give myself a motivation or something to look forward to to do this. But
Sounds like a great commercial advertisement for tequila. Like
yeah, I
nothing
know.
gets
That's the
done
problem, though.
without
The
tequila.
problem is I don't want to. You don't want to encourage people to have to drink to get themselves to build
Building.
to build a bed frame.
But
So
it's fun.
yeah,
It's very accomplishing. Once you build something, it's like
it's amazing,
yeah,
right? You
it
feel
feels
great.
really
You feel
good.
like this
I don't
is
know how to
like the
build, but
fruit of
right,
like my labor, and I'm like
exactly.
takia, but like
I
it's how I
can't.
feel about making Duncan Hines brownies too, because everyone always likes them. You can't do them wrong,
Right,
right? I used to
exactly.
make them in college all the time, and like Friday nights, like people would come by, everyone was drinking, and the door was always open, and then like you just have like a couple of the Duncan Hines brownies, and everyone would go to town on them.
Right.
Everyone would pound them and like, this is the best brownie I ever made. I'm like, oh well,
Like,
it's no big deal. I'm
yeah.
like, you can't screw it up. It's like an egg and half a cup of water, and you're done. Like.
Cereal and milk.
Hmm.
That was great though. Also, when Guy pulled out those brownies,
That was crazy. But Guy did them from scratch.
oh, he made them from scratch.
He
He
made
was
them from
stuck.
scratch. He did not Duncan Hines that. I don't think.
Wow.
I think he was like
I
got
remember
the
he needed flour. Okay, now I
yeah. He
remember
was
right. He
using the
needed something.
ingredients, dude.
He needed to get eggs from Chesky.
Yeah.
Yeah. So going back.
Yes. Going back. So
So
you're
I guess
married and you want to do
I
you,
guess
do you always
so.
want to be a
Starting from the
doctor?
beginning, um, did I always want to be a doctor? No, the idea was planted in my head when um, family faints at the sight of blood, especially my father. My father's horrible,
Really?
horrible. Like he'll faint, he'll like look, and like if like they accidentally messed up or like there's some blood trickling out, like he's done. He
Really?
passes out. Yeah. So he used to take his kids with him to get like blood draws whenever he needed it. I don't know. I'm saying like he did it
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
often.
Sure.
Whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
He had stomach problems, so he went to get blood. So we went with him. So I went one time, and I didn't faint. So he's like, from there, it was like, oh, you didn't faint. You should
How old
become
are
a
you?
doctor. I was like 7, 8.
Okay. Gotcha.
So like I still remember it. Like it's like, oh, you didn't faint. Like that's very impressive. And I was like,
No big deal.
most people like, I feel like it's like a normal thing, but he's like, you should become a doctor. So from there, from liking blood to being a doctor, I guess that was a connection that he
That's
made.
so interesting.
Um, and
Did you have a
so it
proclivity
wasn't
towards
really a
anything?
dream. Well,
Do you have a proclivity towards like were you better at
no,
science or math
it's a
or
good question. I didn't want to do anything. Like it wasn't like I grew up thinking I wanted to do this. It's more like
you're just
they
happy
put
growing
it.
up?
Yeah, I was happy growing up, and he put an idea in my head um, of becoming a doctor, and so from there I was like, yeah, I'm becoming a doctor. Like
Mhm.
it kind of just went with it. 7 year old, like I'm
That's
like, yeah,
crazy.
that is. Do you do like that? Sounds good. I like blood. What more do you need?
And like it also I had this very negative experience when I was in high school.
Yeah,
And maybe it's the world that I was also growing up in, the more like modern Orthodox world. I felt an enormous sense of pressure to have an idea as to like what I wanted to do with my life when I was in like 10th or 11th grade.
from the
Especially,
school.
yeah, from the school, from people around me, from my friends. Everyone's like, "Oh, well, I'm good at math. I'll be an accountant." I'm like, "Oh, I'm good at like science. I want to be a doctor." And I'm like,
Crap.
"How?" I remember I had my first girlfriend in like 11th grade. Like she wouldn't go on dates with me at night because she was studying because she needed to get into a good college, which would get her into a good med school.
Wow.
And like she wants, and she's a doctor now. Like she's like today like she's a doctor.
And you're like, why are you studying so much?
And I was
It's
like,
like, or that.
and but I felt terrible. I don't know what the heck. I still don't know what the heck I want to do with in my life. Like I'm living my life, but like I don't know what I want to do with it. How do you know? I was like, so there was an enormous amount of pressure when, at least in my world when I was growing up to have like idea from a very young age what you wanted to do.
So you didn't do anything with the pressure. There was just pressure. Meaning,
Well,
you never figured something out.
the classes that you would excel in would be an indication as to what kind of field you had a proclivity towards, right? So if you tended to be good at like chemistry or physics, like you knew that you'd be an engineer or or a doctor or something like that, or going to
Right.
whatever.
And for you,
And for me, I was good at writing, and I was good at history, and I was good at like English stuff, but like that didn't really mean anything. It didn't translate to anything tangible. So everyone's
an
like,
English major.
so everyone's like, "Oh, you should be a lawyer," and I'm like, I don't want like that. Sounds like the worst thing in the entire world. Like because I'm not good at. I have a very very low tolerance for things I don't care about. So I like everyone's like, oh, you like to read. I'm like, but I only like to read things that I like reading about. Like I
I
have
want to be
books on
forced
my
to read.
shelves that have been there for years because I can't get myself into
Mhm.
them. But um, but then the books that catch me, I inhale them. I'm like, but being a lawyer is reading things you just don't care about. And I'm like, why do I want to do that for my entire life? That sounds terrible.
It's kind of like with everything, though. I think it's something that you have to do. All of a sudden, it becomes something that's not fun to do. So like you
Yeah.
like watching TV shows, but like if you were forced to write reviews about the TV shows after you watch them, like as a living, would you still like watching the TV show?
I think so. I think that you'd probably burn out at some point. But I also think that there are things like ideas, for example, of like deadlines that like make it more structured than just fun. Like I think if someone is writing a movie. This word you can't do that, and
And
like
there are
and then
deadlines.
there are deadlines and you have to watch four. Like I remember I took in college as a joke of a class. It was a Netflix class, and
It was
basically
called a
it
Netflix
was a
class.
Netflix class, and you'd watch movies about like Netflix. We'd use Netflix as like a guide for the way that society and culture thought about things and looked at things. So like we did like a movie about like we had to watch The Punisher, which was a Marvel show that was on
That was
Netflix at
with
the
John.
time.
That was with
John Bernthal.
yeah. That's
I
great.
loved it.
He's
By the
great.
way, I love that series, but we had to watch the whole series by like in like 4 days,
One day. Oh,
and it's like it's a 14-hour series. I'm like, I can't watch this. I can't watch this much. You're forcing
you're
me.
right.
Like it's coming
Forced
out of my nose. Like and like you're taking one of my favorite shows and like you're making me
ruining
hate
it.
it because you're making me watch it all in like a minute. You know, and like you're
Wow.
making me binge it. It was reinforced binging on a college level, and I was getting credits for it. You know, um,
Sounds like
but
a great class, but you're saying it
but
was.
just like the way that it was done, like I didn't like being forced to do
Mm-mm.
something. Like if I'm watching White Lotus, let me just watch it at the pace I want to watch it. If I want to watch
Right.
Suits, let me watch it at the pace. So I hate Suits, but let me
I
watch it at
hate
the pace.
suits.
You hate Suits?
It's too cliche. It's too perfect.
Yes, thank
The
you.
perfect wording, and it's like
It's too
too
perfect.
perfect.
Too perfect.
And like as a kid growing up, ate that stuff up. That was it. That was that. I loved Suits while growing up,
Yeah.
and now I
What do
turned
you
it
think it
on.
is?
I don't know. Now I turned it on. I was like, I cannot watch this. After one or two, I started again. I was like, I'm gonna start again. I think I stopped at the third or fourth season, so I was like, I want to continue. I think there's five or six.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to
More than they needed
continue
to have.
more than they need to have exactly. And I started watching. And I was like, I couldn't get through the first two, and I was like, this is, I don't know. And it bothered me that like I loved it growing up, and now I couldn't watch it. And then there are things you watch growing up, and it's like you still love. How I Met Your Mother is always funny, and
Really,
Friends
I felt that way. I felt How I Met Your Mother did not age well.
didn't
I
age
felt
well.
that when I tried rewatching it
Oh no.
like a couple years ago, and I was like, "This is awful," in my opinion. I thought, but
Yeah.
I was obsessed with it in high school. Like, I lived and breathed How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, same. I watched that because I thought I would be get funny from that. Like there were
Mm-hmm.
certain parts where I was like, I could learn humor
Yeah,
from that, and like it kind of worked. It wasn't like there was something I said, and I was like, oh, that I got totally from that,
yeah,
and I got some laughs, and I was like, oh, it's
yeah.
working.
It's a good
So
feeling,
I
right?
used it as a guideline. I remember like that was my guideline
You know
to.
what's so funny about that? I have my youngest brother, is 14, right?
Did I mean to know what the pay is?
Ari, no, that's Natano.
This time.
Natano's 17, I think. Turning 18, I think.
Mm,
Ari's 14,
okay.
and Ari grew up in the quietest house of all our siblings because everyone, moved out,
Mm,
married, college, Israel, whatever, and he got a lot of like his social cues and jokes and whatever from the books that he reads. Like he loves reading, but like he makes these. Like he doesn't know like how to implement like this like a sense of humor, like how to translate it from like the page and like from the book into like real life conversation. So like he'll say something and we'll all look at him like, "What did you just say?
what?
What are you talking about?"
Uh,
And
super dry. What's the problem with what
it's
he's saying?
technical. It's dry. Like he's like, "Oh, you wish that you were smarter than me." Ha 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 ha. Good one, dude. You got it. Hit the nail on the head, dude. Like, like
Reading a book comes.
yeah, that's right. So it felt like he's like reading like a punchline, from a script or something like that. And so we were trying to teach him the nuance of like being
right.
being a social person.
So How I Met Your Mother theoretically is one step above that, where like you're watching people interact, like that's real life interaction.
Right.
Obviously, the context won't be the same in your life of trying to apply whatever they're going through. But
and we don't have a laugh track.
What?
And we don't have a laugh track.
And we don't have a laugh track.
Yeah,
that's true.
Which would be great.
You walk around with a live laugh track? If it says something.
If every time that you said something funny, you got positive reinforcements with like a group of people going like ah and like clapping and like,
like based on a survey of 100 people, like was that actually funny? And like if it was, then you'd get the laugh. Is that how it would work?
That's interesting. No, because you need immediate feedback faster than that. You can't wait for that survey.
No, I'm saying theoretically, right? No, AI advanced so much.
Oh,
that, like,
yes.
It picks up.
It computes what
100 people
funny,
generally find that funny.
Yeah, that's interesting.
We talk.
I was trying.
We're getting. How are we getting into We Talk right now?
This is where we're going. I was trying to explain to my students. I'm having to do a writing assignment now. They're writing a 20-page movie script, and they're going to film it, and then we're going to order pizza, and we're going to watch the movie that they wrote and filmed.
Everyone's doing their own movie, or they're
collaborating. The whole class is collaborating on the movie. It's an 8 to 10 person class. There's 2 classes, and they're both doing it. So cool. And one thing I'm trying to teach them is the difference between the writing and dialogue, like when for a movie and the writing that like you do for English class. So like they'll write. Teacher walks in. Mr. Hirschman walks in. Right. Mr. Hirschman says, "Hey dudes, how is it going today?" And I'm like, "Okay, well read that out loud. Do you speak like that in real life?" They're like, "No." Right. So what do you say in real life? They say, "Hey, how's it going?" So write that, and like you have to like we're taught to like write in a very formal, structured way, but most conversations and most writing that we like if you're trying to replicate what real talk is like,
right,
it's very informal,
which has its purpose. Formal writing to write has its purpose, but you're saying there's a
different skill. It's a different muscle. The first time I wrote a script, my teacher thought the character was supposed to be autistic. He actually asked me. He was like, "Is this character supposed to be autistic?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Well, then you got to do a lot of editing." And I'm like, "Oh my god, really? It's that bad?" He was like, I was like, he showed me. He read it out loud. He's like, "Okay, you read this character, and I read your main character." I'm like, okay, and like he read it, and I read it. Wow. And like, oh yeah, it sounds terrible.
Oh yeah, my goodness. That's a really cool idea, though. Was that your idea? Did the school give you a curriculum, or like that was that you just?
They give me a suggested curriculum. But this is my third. I'm almost done with my third year teaching there, and I have not been directed to do anything specific,
which is cool.
Once yet, yeah, it's all up to me.
Wow, yeah, I guess that makes sense because what school would allow their students to make a movie script and then?
Why? I think especially for English class.
I think it's so cool, and it brings out like they're probably super happy about this project.
They love it.
Right, it's such a cool project. I think. Yeah. But just different. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I didn't even get their approval before we went ahead and did it, but I've done it the last 2 years, and I've invited the principal to watch the projects with us. He never has, which I think is good because one class of 10th graders snuck in like a cocaine dealing scene, and they like had like salt, and the guy's like, "Here, let me try." And like he like wipes on his gums, and then like, "Yeah, it's good." And I'm like, "What is this, guy? Doing? You're gonna get me fired." Yeah. I mean, the principal sees this, I'm fired. Yeah. Like, I'm supposed to oversee you guys.
And the principal obviously has to come in right at that moment, right.
No, he didn't. No. They don't. He stops by probably a couple times a semester, like in the class. Like he'll do a random drop off, just to see what's going on. So like,
does that freak you out?
What?
Does that freak you out?
No. Sometimes if I'm showing a movie that I'm not necessarily supposed to be showing, like we watched a movie called Argo. Do you watch Argo?
No.
No?
I don't watch Argo.
Oh, it's a great movie.
On the list. It's on the list.
Yeah, it's a great movie. But it's technically rated R. And,
technically.
For language.
Right.
And like, these guys are 15. They know what a curse word is. So, like, as long as it's not, like, sex stuff, I don't really care.
Right.
So I stationed a student by the door, and then I stationed, and then I had like another slide up in the background,
opposite side of the room.
To slide. I was like, okay. I was like, you stand here in front of the computer. It's like if anyone walks in, just slide, 4-finger slide. Okay, we're gonna mute slide. Boom, you're done. And we had a whole lookout station going.
And no one came.
Mm-hmm.
But that's funny. That's great.
Yeah. So anyway, we got completely sidetracked from
Anyways,
your journey, dude.
so I had a couple of years off, right? As we said, go to Israel. You after high school, you don't necessarily go into college right away or pre med.
What do you think? Do you think that's a good thing? Like, do you think that if most Americans had to take, let's say, like what Israel has, either go to the military or like Shirut Leumi, which is like community service for a year or two, do you think that we'd be better off, or do you think that it's better to just send students straight from high school into college and like get them going? Do you think college is a version of that?
I think that it is a good thing, especially with the way the system is set up, where we're getting married like at 22, 23. Like it kind of gives us a break off from making a decision about what you want to do in life, what path you want to do.
It gives you time to be
It gives
you.
you time to be you, to focus on learning, and even if like that's not necessarily something that you're gonna do forever, but like it gives you a like a breathing room to figure out, okay, like what do I like, what don't I like. You're very young, coming out of high school. You're like, how
You're 17, 18. So to
17,
clarify, by the way, learning is just like learning Torah, like learning Bible and learning Talmud. And
right?
generally speaking, when you, in the Orthodox Jewish circles, when you graduate high school, you take at least a year, depending where you're growing up to like 4 or 5 even, right? Like you can spend 4 or 5 years,
Yeah,
so into your early 20s learning, and then until you feel like you're ready to get married. So you're kind of building up the foundations of the philosophy of what your home is going to be and what your life is going to be. And then once you feel like that structure and that foundation is solid enough, then you go off and you find a partner,
yeah.
to
That's
start building
well
on that.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for
I
clarifying.
think because I think if you ask a lot of people like, what's the point of learning after like school? Like a lot of them just say it's because we do it, but like there has to be like there's a purpose for it. Like there's a reason why that idea is like, that philosophy has been in place.
Yeah, and it's to lay the foundations. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
100%. So I think that doing that in that way, like, is if you'd be going to college first, you wouldn't have time to think because you're so busy with your classes. Like when you go and study Talmud, like not that you're not busy, but like it's a different type of busy. You get to you're doing with friends, and there's not as many exams, right? You're not
Yeah.
really taking exams. You have an exam once a semester,
It's
maybe.
like coming of age. It's a coming
Yeah.
of age point in your life, and it's like giving you the space to do it.
hmm So I think it helps for most people. Not for me, but it helps for most people
Do you don't think it worked for you?
to figure out what I wanted. I think it was still something in the works because so as I progressed through the learning phase after high school and going to Israel, um, there was always this pressure like, okay, when are you going to come back and start pre med?
Really,
Um,
that was the expectation.
that was expectation. Maybe I may have made my intentions like somewhat on board that I was going to start pre med. Um, it wasn't just like my parents saying you like blood, go for it. But I think I might have said something to that
Mhm.
extent, like, "Oh yeah, this is
Well,
something I
because
want
whenever
to
you go to
do."
college, like you just take those classes.
Right,
Right.
but it wasn't something they were like, "Okay, you sign me up, sign me up." Like I may have said something also to edge them on, in this pre med journey.
Right.
So I came back.
How old
Um,
are you at this point?
at this point, I started after high school, I was 18, so I was probably 23, 22. I was 22. 22 at this point. Between the summers, I would take some summer classes, which was annoying. After coming back from Israel
You
and
see
then
them in
like
person, or you
taking
did them
summer
online?
classes. No, I did them in person in the community
Really?
college. I took
Where?
yeah, it's community college. I did there
In
were easy
LA?
classes in LA. Did psych. Uh,
Really?
I did socials. Like yeah, I did all these like basic. I
What
gave
did you think of community college? Did you like it?
um yeah, I met some really interesting people. Um,
I love
it was
community
kind of like a
college.
blur though because I did it really when I was 2021, one or 2 months. I had zero interest in studying because it was the summer. Like that was the time you're supposed to
Yeah.
like take off, and there I was actually working.
Were
So I
you
just
single still?
did to get by. Yeah, I was still single.
Mhm.
But you like community college?
I loved it.
Why?
I thought that the teachers in community college cared a lot more about teaching than the teachers that I've had in Binghamton, in like the more quote unquote established school, right? So
Really?
yeah, that's what I found. And I think that part of the reason why might be that because the more prestigious of a school you teach at, the more that your job probably revolves around research as opposed to just
Mm,
being a good professor. And so a lot of the professors in great universities are more focused on their grants and their research and what they're doing and where they're getting the next paycheck. And not in a bad way. I don't blame them, but the way that the common theme among my community college teachers was them constantly saying, this might be either we're preparing you for regular college, or a better college, and so you have to be on a better track, or this might be the only education you're going to get, and so we have to teach you like everything that we think you need to know in order to get into the rest of the world and the rest of your life. And they did a remarkable job, like just drilling some very basic fundamentals and some really important like groundwork. And and you could tell they cared, and you could tell they really were invested. And these are smaller classrooms.
That's cool.
And I thought, and then I transferred to Binghamton. My first class is psych lecture hall class with 450 students, and a teacher that the extent of his class is five 50 choice multiple choice questions, 50 question multiple choice questions, and he drops the lowest grade, and that's your grade. So like, it's not about having a relationship with him. It's not about homework. It's not about anything. The TA was grading the tests, and he would just and we were lucky that he would come in and lecture, because there are a lot of other teachers that wouldn't even lecture their classes. They'd give the material to a TA, and they would lecture the classes. And
interesting. I guess I feel like that really depends. Like, it's school dependent. Like, you happen to have gone to community college. That was great. There's obviously an easy argument to be made that colleges that are taking these professors from that are teaching in community colleges, they're not as good as colleges as professors coming from a 4-year university. But that's also a good point. Going back to the idea that you built up the stamina in after high school, going through this Talmudic journey,
learning for 10, 12 hours a day, right?
That it's so much. You're right. You're learning for 10, 12 hours a day, and like there's
another language.
It's another language,
and it's different.
And it's this idea of something called ritzifus, which just means pushing and like not stopping. Like, there's an idea for the listeners to go and like to take like a 5-minute break every like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Which is like Pomodoro is like what, every 30 minutes,
something
like that. So like to push, it was a big deal. So like you pushing and pushing,
teaching discipline, stamina.
So it does help a lot for college. So in that aspect, it helps. I think even if like you're trying a little bit, like there's some osmosis that you're getting from the learning, even if you're not that invested. But going back, so I came back. I started a community college. So I was probably 22 at this point.
How'd you like being at home while you were 22?
Well, I didn't go home. I was in Baltimore. I started Neri Strahl, and then from there, you have a 6-month period where you have to be learning, and then you kind of could merge into your college studies. So that's what I did. So I was at 22, learned for another 6 months to be integrated. They didn't want to just take advantage of their college system, and then from there, I started pre-med.
But they're associated with Johns Hopkins. Huh?
They were with Johns Hopkins at one point. They went to Towson University for a little bit. Now they're doing something with.
I feel like Johns Hopkins is a better sell than Towson.
100%. And now they're at Pierce or something like a little bit lower, but still good.
Yeah.
So I did a semester of that. After 6 months, I got by. I didn't love it. We did it with everyone. Like, there were a lot of people helping everyone out. So like kind of made the classes work. It was biology, and one other science class. So that was that. I after that semester, it was the summer. And at that point I decided that I want to change yeshivas. I didn't like the school. I wanted something a little bit more warm, so I went to Shar in Far Rockaway. And Far Rockaway is associated with Turo. They don't have a program, but people in Shar learn in Turo, study in Turo. So I signed up for 4 classes. Very ambitious of me.
That is very ambitious. But Shar is not. It's kind of build your own schedule, isn't it?
It's build your own schedule. It's not as this like where Neri Yisrael is this integrated aspect of like everyone doing it together. Here it was like you're on your own, which is maybe where a problem started to develop. It was figure it out. You could figure out what classes you want to take. It's up to you. There's no one like advising you. Neri Yisrael was on a schedule where everyone was doing biology. You did biology. Yeah. That was your part. That was your pre-med. Turo was
much more structured.
Yeah. Turo is much more structured and a lot more expensive.
Turo is much more expensive.
Turo is more expensive.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is applicable to is important to the story in a few minutes. So started classes, starting to date at the time.
At this point, you feel like you're ready to start dating now.
At this point, I feel like I'm ready to start dating. Yeah,
Whatever that
exactly,
means.
whatever that means. I gone out with one or two girls at the time right before. It was fun. I had a fun time. So it was starting pre-med. And it was an official degree, so I was doing psych and doing a few other courses and dating at the same time. And
when you're dating in this context, again, just for context, is essentially heavy duty rapid fire dating where you go, like, your first date is expected to be several hours, right? And
you haven't met the girl before.
You've never met the girl before, but you've seen things about her. You get what's called a resume, which is essentially just a list of family members, what they're up to in their lives, and some references for you to call and ask about personality or family or whatever. And then you're supposed to find out. You're supposed to decide really within, like, what do you say, 3 to 6 dates, whether or not, like, you feel like this is a serious enough relationship for you to continue it.
Right.
But then you spend probably 10, 12 hours together or more, and then you decide, like, yeah, this is something I want to continue and pursue on a serious level or not.
Exactly. After the sixth date, you're like 90%.
You don't date for 2 months and decide, no, I'm not.
After the sixth date, you're 90% closing the deal. I mean, sixth to eighth date, you're probably 90% there.
By the ninth date, Rachel and I were talking about the fact that we're going to be married.
Right. So, like, you don't. Someone says, like, "Oh, what date are they on?" 9 dates. You're like, okay, you're getting engaged.
But the question is, then you say, how do you feel? And if the answer is, I don't know, then probably not. And if the answer is, like, it's good, then
Exactly.
you know they're
Then
going to
it's good. All right. So it's a crazy concept. I mean, it's not some right. It's not.
But that's how I want to. It's fun to clarify these ideas, because a lot of people like don't. Yeah, it's so different from American culture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I also want to clarify. So while I was going through this process, like, again, the idea of my parents telling me, like, for some reason they had in their head from the blood, it was they wanted to make sure I was taken care of long term. They're great parents, and to that extent, they decided that I should become a dentist
instead of a doctor.
Right. So they were like, right. They went from blood to doctor, and then from doctor, they're like, dentist is in that same realm. Everyone's a doctor today. Everyone's a doctor. You go to PA and everyone's a doctor. So a dentist is in that same field. And they make a killing, right? Exactly. And you could be an orthodontist, even if you don't become
put a couple of braces a couple of times a year, and you're set. And
so, like, that's what they wanted to make sure. Like, I was like, I was like 7, 8 years old. They're like, dentist, and I was like, yeah, dentist. So when I was going through pre-med at the beginning, it was for me to become a dentist, and I don't know. There's something to do with me growing up and hating dentists. There's the smell of walking to the dentist office, and, like, it's nauseating. And then, I don't know, I have, like, traumatic experiences from, like, being held down while I got cavities filled. So, like, the idea of now doing that to people, I think, like, rubbed me the wrong way, and it's still like off-putting in my head, even though they make a lot of money and it could be interesting. I never wanted to become a dentist. Like, I went to shadow a dentist, and I was like, this is not for me. But I, for some reason, went along with my parents' plan.
Yeah.
And so I got through that first semester of pre-med, transferred to Turo, and started taking these classes and dating at the same time. And pre-med obviously had to take a backseat because I had zero interest in doing pre-med. I didn't want to become.
So you already kind of had the sense of being pushed into something you didn't want to do, and so it was hard to put your all into something you didn't feel like you cared about.
Correct. Okay. And, like, I kind of blamed it on, like, and I think I have a little bit of, like, ADHD, can't sit still, not to the extent that other SL members or other people have, but, like, there's some like restlessness that I have.
Yeah.
And it was hard that first semester of taking biology. Like, I got through it, but, like, I was pacing throughout the whole class. Like, I in the back, and I couldn't. It didn't speak to me. And so as we progressed through this tourist semester, the first, like, big assignment came where we had to, like, write this 10-page paper, and I was out. I was seriously dating my wife to be at the time, and it was getting serious. I'd just gotten engaged, actually. Now that, as I'm talking, I'm remembering.
So is this 3 months into
dating? It was 1 month into school and 2 months into dating.
You got engaged.
And I got engaged, and getting engaged around that time is the time where the classes took a steep decline.
Okay.
I really hope no one's listening to this,
What's
especially because my in-laws would not be happy because I
Oh,
think
that's
they know.
okay, dude. First of all, your in-laws are not gonna listen to this. Your in-laws are not. You know who's gonna listen to this, by the way?
Goldfarb.
Well, definitely.
Definitely.
Shout out to my Goldfarb.
Shout out to our-
Shout out to Guy bin Hanan's mother-in-law.
No way.
Apparently, Izzy's mom's friend of the pod.
Friends of the pod. Friends of the pod should have their own special station.
Friends of the pod should have their own. I think that you should sign up for a free Friends of the Pod where I just send you a WhatsApp video and just say hi. You know, like every now and then.
And like to be like cool merch.
Did I tell you what Adam's idea was?
No.
He said I should print out business cards that says "Dude, come in the pod" with a QR code that scans to register to join for a slot to join the podcast.
That's so cool. I love that idea.
It's a great idea,
Yeah.
right? And I could just walk around like if I'm at a brewery and there's someone interesting, just like hand them a card, "Dude, come in the pod."
And especially in the moment, maybe they're more
inclined,
sure. And then like later it's like, but like you do it right there. You're like signed up, you have a date, like you just go with it.
The problem is I think people are so non-confrontational. I bet a lot more people would promise to do it and not do it. Like that's why when I get people, I try to get them right away. I'm like, "Want to do a podcast? Yeah, let's do it today. You know, like, let's do it tomorrow.
Right now.
Yeah, let's do it right now." You know, I have a doctor coming on. We're finding a schedule right now. He wants but he's like, "How's April?" I'm like, "April? It's February. I don't know what's happening in April right now. You know, but you know, you do what you can. You know, like he's a doctor with his own life and career.
He actually has a schedule. He needs.
Exactly. He needs to figure that out.
He needs 8 months, 8 weeks in advance.
Yeah.
That's great. That's funny.
So yeah.
So
school's going.
So I got engaged. School took a steep decline, and when I say a decline, I mean that I stopped going. I just didn't show up, and it was horrible because I was so early on in the pre-med. In that,
were you early enough
semester,
to drop the classes?
I was early enough to drop the classes,
but you're not enough to get the refund.
But I'm not sure. There's a possibility, and that's what like in the back of my head, I'm like pushing it down. Like there's a chance that I could have gotten a refund on the classes. It was a month in, so probably not a refund. Maybe I could have gotten half of it back.
Yeah.
I know they do something like that.
They do that, yeah.
And so I stopped going, and I didn't unofficially withdraw, which is the sucky part about that. So there I was, like I had these classes, had the schedule all set up, and just didn't go. There was a lot to take in because I was also dating, and there was all these emotions.
Were you nervous about getting married?
I think so.
I mean, I definitely was.
Yeah, I think so, especially because it was like the girl I dated. I mean, my wife, the second time around, we dated again. So like, there were a lot of emotions. But it was also combined with the fact like I don't want to take away from the fact that like I had zero interest in doing pre-med. It wasn't like dating and getting married like
got in the way.
Like it was more like I just didn't want to do it. It was a great excuse to not do it.
Right.
So I just didn't go. Which in my head at the time was perfectly reasonable. So the wedding date was set. We're getting married in January. At some point in our date in the engagement period, my wife Tova found out
that you were not going.
That I wasn't going, and it was fine.
You didn't tell her?
Yeah, it was like I didn't tell her at first because I was embarrassed.
Okay.
So I didn't tell her at first. Definitely didn't tell my parents.
So what did you do? What were you doing those times instead of classes? Were you just hanging out?
Yeah, so it was like a slow progression. Like I remember, like I would go to the campus, and then it'd be like, no, I'm not going into school. I'm not going into that room. Like I wouldn't go into the room, or I'd show up like super late. Like I didn't like just cold turkey. Like I was like, okay, I'll go.
Hang on the back.
Hang on the back. I'm on the phone with Tova. I'm on the phone with my fiance. And then somehow I can't remember what I did to fill the time. I did something.
Yeah.
It was probably along the lines of watching a movie or a TV show.
Yeah,
probably. So we get married, and there's that honeymoon period where it's like, okay, you don't have to figure out your life right away.
You're staying in New York at this point?
At this point, I got married and then moved to Baltimore.
Okay,
so I'm back in Baltimore. I left Shariashav. I left Toro, and I was in Baltimore. And there was a period where, like, I think also it was around the time of midwinter, where so colleges give you like a month or two off. So I didn't have to figure anything out right away. And then as the semester approached, and my parents are really on top of me, for the good, I think.
Yeah, sounds like you maybe needed it.
So I did need it. So they were like, "When are you signing up for classes?" And I was like, "That's a great idea."
Yeah.
Now that I have 4 classes that I unofficially withdraw, for those that don't know, is essentially an F. Did you know that?
I did. If you unofficially withdraw?
Well, I unofficially withdrew, right? Because I didn't withdraw.
Oh, so meaning you just got the F because you just didn't go.
I just got that because I didn't go. It's the same thing as an F for all intent and purpose.
Right, sure.
It's just not an F. It's a UA. UW, unofficial withdrawal.
Oh, yes. Okay, but it still looks better than like having failed the class.
But I think colleges treat it the same way.
Do they?
Generally.
Okay, got it.
So
it's not great.
So it's not great. So they're like, "When are you signing up for classes?" And I was like, "Yeah, doc, I about classes." I was like, "There's something I got to tell you," and I ended up telling them.
Was that hard?
That was, yeah, that was pretty hard. It was a little easier to do it on the phone than in person. I feel like things could have happened in person, but it was hard. Um, they needed some time to process. But that being said, they're amazing parents, and they didn't like expect like they just. I mean, essentially, someone telling them, "We just took your 12 grand because they paid for the class.
Mm-hmm.
They
Threw
paid
it in
for
the garbage.
4 or 5 classes and just threw it in the garbage."
Mm-hmm.
In a really stupid way. Talk about like taking 120 grand of tuition and just that's for tuition. You're doing something with it. But they came to and they were fine. Like it was like, okay, let's move on. And I was like,
Right,
"What do you
like,
mean move
yeah.
on, like move on, like that's it. This happened. We're gonna continue on." And at this point, I was kind of in the dumps. So like, this is not happening. My medical career is not happening. But they pushed me to sign up for more classes.
They did.
Bless their heart.
What did they say?
Yeah.
Just say it's better to just try things out.
Yeah, they said you were busy because I think I played it off as like I had a lot of things going on. I didn't tell them that I had zero interest in becoming a dentist because I didn't really know at the time. Also, it was just like I had zero interest in doing school at all.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't
You
like
weren't ready for
dentist.
it.
I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
So they're like, start again. Like you're ready. And because I told them I was just about the marriage aspect that it was a lot, and I had to stop.
But
So
I would
like,
understand that. I think if I was a parent.
yeah, and I think that's why they were fine with it the first time. Um, So we
I love you, dude.
signed up for more classes. So this time we signed up for, I was like, I just got married. And I was like, we're gonna sign up for, we're gonna take it slow. Instead of 4 classes and be ambitious, we're gonna do 1 class. So I signed up for a class in a lab, chemistry and lab. And it didn't take long for me to stop going to that too. It's
Right.
horrible.
But the
Horrible.
chemistry I heard is really hard to start.
Chemistry is hard.
And labs are hard too,
Exactly, exactly. So and I had zero interest. So
But-
it's hard when you have an interest.
Yeah, of course.
It's even harder when you zero interest in doing it and like there's no end goal. It wasn't like to become a doctor, to become a dentist. It was like I don't know what the heck I'm doing this for. I don't want to do this.
Totally.
So I stopped. And so that was probably like it was one of the hardest points in my life where I was like, what the heck am I doing?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was like at that point, my pre-med career path, if there was one, was shot because that was another unofficial withdrawal. That was 5 from 2 different schools. I was like, one thing to be like, okay, that school had its own issue. Like,
yeah.
From 2 separate schools, like the medical school, I knew they would never take someone with 5 Fs. Like especially even if it was early on in the career, it's just the likelihood of getting in is very very slim to none. So I was like, oh, pivot. I'll go to do real estate. That's
what you thought, really?
That's what I thought. My brother was doing real estate at the time. Sounded really. It's definitely lucrative. He was doing like trying to flip. He was doing flipping in the beginning of his.
So just like buying crappy
buying like
houses or whatever,
exactly, and then flipping it. So he had 2 or 3.
How did he do that? Did he have people that he knew with money that like he was able to invest with?
He did, and he had a just burning desire to just make money and like
good for him.
And which a lot of people do. I think a lot of people have that, but like
I don't. By the way,
you don't.
No, I don't.
You just want to like which
like to me, money's a vehicle. So I only have a burning desire to do money when it helps me get something that I want to do. But like like right now,
I think the same way.
Like I'm very happy with my life. Like I don't like I would like right now. I think my expenses are higher than they've ever been. I know that. I don't think so. So like I have to be like, yeah, I need to do something to make more, but I'm not pursuing more like money for money's sake. I'm pursuing it because like if I want to give my wife something nice, like I want to be able to do that. You
Yeah.
know, like if I
And
want to
live
be
in
able
the
to,
moment.
yeah, well, yeah, it's for something. It's
Yeah.
to enhance relationships. It's to enhance experiences. It's to, you know, you can have a whiskey that you don't like. You have a whiskey that you love. You know, and the difference, if the difference is $30, then how do I make $30 more to me to be able to enjoy my life more? You
Which is
know,
so cool.
yeah, but it's not like money is like if I have $1 million in the bank account or $20 million in the bank account, like it won't make a difference to me because I'm not doing anything with that $20 million anyway. Like I'm doing exactly the same thing as I would be doing now, which is doing a podcast and I have my guitar here and I have you know my cousin staying over and I have my wife and I have my kid in school. And I'm like, great, you know, like this is exactly what I want to be doing anyway. So why not?
Right, because with the mentality, I think I totally agree. I think I'm the same way with that mentality of want to take money is the idea of also saving money because you don't want to spend it because you
Yeah,
want to have it in the bank account.
yeah.
And I remember at one point my brother coming over to me and be like, "Sure, like it's so cool. Like this is we were a little bit older. Like it's so cool that like you just spend money." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You just enjoy and just don't think about the
Yeah.
future. Like, you're living in the moment. You're present. That like you just don't care." And I was like, "That's a good point. Maybe I should." Take
There's
away
a
from that a little bit.
there's a
There's a
middle
middle
ground, by
ground.
the way,
There's a
with
middle
you.
ground, and there's no middle ground with me, but there should be a middle ground where like you try to be like, hey, like I'll save a little bit, I'll spend a little bit, but like both ways have, I guess, its perks and
Yeah,
pros and cons.
definitely.
Um,
So yeah, so your brother got into real estate. You were
so
thinking maybe
my
I'll do
brother
it.
got into real estate at first, so that's what I was like, oh, perfect, I'll do the same thing. And
Do you think
after
you could
this,
have succeeded in it?
no,
You don't think
I
so?
don't think so. Um,
You
I
have to
think
be a
I
killer to
You
succeed
have
in
to be
that.
exactly. You have to have such a drive, which I don't, and I guess you
Yeah,
don't hate. You have to have such a drive to put yourself in uncomfortable situations, like right, like and put yourself out there.
yeah,
It's like sales on steroids because like you're
yeah,
meeting them with in person and it's a lot.
yeah.
And I think my parents helped me convince me of that. That like
This isn't your
yeah
thing.
yeah that's his thing. It's great. It works for him.
Yeah.
But like and yeah, you're a person. You're friendly, but like yeah, you really have to drive and push. And at that point, I just didn't want to do school. It was just an option for me, like to say, hey, real estate, you know, there's no schooling involved.
Yeah.
So like, I kind of shot school
Yeah.
in the face, but without not going. So I was like, perfect. Um, so like, fine. They're like, you want to do that, fine, but like, we really don't think it's a good idea. And they pushed, and I ended up telling them that I dropped out again, which was even harder than the first time. And they came.
Who was harder to tell, your mom or your dad?
I'm pretty sure I told my mom. I was like, "Tell dad, bye." I think that's what happened because I couldn't tell him. I think so. I think it was probably along those lines of like I couldn't tell him and like it was on the phone and I was just like figure it out and I'll speak to you guys in 2 weeks after everything calms down.
Oh man.
So I ended up telling him and we were kind of going through like okay like what now? This was already now it was 5 6 months into marriage. Maybe Tova was
How was your first year of
expecting.
marriage?
It was good. I was able to
The
really
reason I'm asking, by the way, again, purpose,
yeah.
context, is there's a notion in, you know, that we call Shana Rishona, the first year that you're married, is typically a very difficult, challenging year because, like, presumably, again, you don't know what you're doing with your life, and you're just starting a life building, like, living with someone new that you just met 6 months ago, 8 months ago, 9 months ago, and like, it takes a lot of adjustment, a lot of figuring out, and you know, I know that a lot of schools, a lot of, you know, Jewish, you know, yeshivas or whatever it is will be a lot more considerate about your situation and your attendance and your and the quality of your progress based on whether or not you're in your first year of marriage. Like they really consider that to be a relatively difficult and challenging time for people.
Right.
So your first year was okay.
So I think in that sense it might have helped this whole journey because that first year was me figuring out with Tova what to do now. Like
Were you talking
where
this
does that
through a
hold
lot?
me?
Were you talking this through with her?
Yeah, a little bit. Maybe not as much as I should have because what I've come to realize is also maybe I'm a little bit more like concealed person, like not sharing so much. So, but there were points where like I think when we were dating, I had mentioned dentist, and then I was like, I think I told her I'm probably not. I don't want to be a dentist, but PA was something like on the back of my mind. There was something there about PA.
Because
I
you
was
have to
like
do 10 years of
PA
med
because I didn't
school.
have to do 10 years of med school. I didn't like. I didn't like the idea. No one wants to voluntarily sign up for 12 years of med school and residency and on. So like, but PA wasn't so much school. So I think I had said that at the time. But they're trying to figure out after the second dropout what to do. Real estate was something that I brought up and kind of got shot down. And I decided I always wanted to become an EMT. Maybe it was joining Hatzalah, which for the listeners that don't know, Hatzalah is this volunteer organization,
Jewish organization.
Jewish organization. Anyone can call in the community throughout
Anywhere.
America,
Yeah.
anywhere. But
amazing.
it's a Jewish organization. Anyone can call. And it's this private EMS service that doesn't charge you and takes you to the hospital if you have a cut
it's
or
amazing.
something more serious.
Brother, even just calling an ambulance is a fortune.
Right. It's crazy. No. Yeah. People don't realize it until you get that first bill. What the heck? But we don't have to deal with it. We don't know that because I guess we have it tell us. So like, it was always interesting entertaining the idea of being an EMT.
On the go, it's more active. It's more fast, rapid pace responses.
And it's 3 months of school. That's all it took. It was 3 months of school, and I was like, "That's you know what?
It's perfect.
I don't know what I wanted to do, but I want to become an EMT." And my parents, my mother, and I'm painting them in this light. They were without them. I probably wouldn't be where I was today in med school without them. There's no way.
And finishing this is your 4th year, right?
Finishing my 3rd year, and there's absolutely no way I would have done something else, and never would have looked back, and would have just assumed that it was too late. And they pushed me to say like it's not too late. We're gonna figure it out.
For you, that's awesome.
The unofficial F's that you got in your transcript. We'll worry about that later because it was weighing me down. But I took this EMT course, and they were like, "Why are you taking this EMT course?" I was like, "I need to do this. I'm taking another break to do this EMT course, and after that, I'll figure out." And I'm so happy I did because after that EMT course, it sparked a desire to be like, "This is something that I want to do. I want to do pre-med."
You loved it.
I loved it.
Were you taking a lot of calls?
No, so it was just before I even joined Atala. It was just like
I
was just doing it 3 nights a week. It's something that was my decision, which I think made it so much more real. It was me deciding that I wanted to do school. It was a lot of work because 3 months and 4 hours for 3 nights a week. So 12, that's 12 hours of school and just a lot of work to just do something that was real to me. I finished and I was like, I think this is so before I even joined Atala, I was like, this is something I want to do. Sign me up for pre-med again.
Nice.
So I started around to a pre-med at the same time where I started taking calls for Atala and loved both of them and found this like
where are you taking classes
desire.
Now?
So now I went back. I was in Neri Stroll. So I was still in Neri Stroll. So I started their pre-med track again.
You went back to the yeshiva.
Went back to the yeshiva.
How was that the second time?
It was fine because I was married. I was doing like
you were more anyway.
Yeah, I was more. So I was like, I didn't really need that loving relationship with your teacher, Rebbe.
Yeah.
So, it was better. And so I started taking these pre-med classes and finding like I became this like science geek, like looking at these plants and being like, this is so cool. I think we spoke about this, and like this is it. This is so cool. I loved it. And long story short, progressed through pre-med and applied, which was a journey in and of itself. Applying.
That's crazy. Wait, so you read it? So did you have to like restart your? You didn't have any credits as far as this goes.
All right. So I got the credits. Also, I skipped I guess a big chunk of the story. I got the credits. I went through pre-med, got what I needed to do. And when I applied
to med school,
to med school, I managed to. This is gonna sound a little shady.
Leave out the.
No, I didn't leave it out because they see everything. I needed. For some reason I left it out. I did leave it out, but one of them I needed. One of the transcripts I needed. Like I had a lot of other things on there that I couldn't just leave out the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed to switch something up. I got someone. I got it changed. I got it. I appealed to the school board and told them that I had a lot going on, and they don't do these things easily, especially Turo, which is an official school. I appealed to the board and asked them and said that there was a lot going on in my life. I wrote this massive paper. They said that they'll convene and talk about it.
That's really cool.
And they pushed it to a official withdrawal, which changes everything. It was a withdrawal. It was nothing. It's essentially that doesn't count.
Yeah,
as a
that's awesome. It's a huge deal.
Which is a huge deal, and essentially
it also shows you what you can do if you're willing to ask if it could be done.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like just ask the question, like, "Hey, can you do this?"
Right.
You know,
because I think I brought it up to someone like, "You're never gonna get it changed. Like, no one gets it changed." And I was like, "I haven't tried." I worked. At that point, I put in at least 2 or 3 years of pre-med. And I was like, I need this to happen. Otherwise,
I've had that by the way with my own college experience too.
Yeah, what's that?
Like I took a history class in RCC, and then when I was about to graduate Binghamton, they're like, "Oh, you don't have a history class." I'm like, "I do," and I'm like, "Can I petition because I took this history class? Here's what the class covered. Are you telling me that's not in the list of prerequisites that would qualify for this history class?" And I was able to request that it be manually accepted, you know, or
because you asked.
because I asked. Or there was a professor of mine that I needed a class that I took with him to be an upper level class instead of a standard class. So he just changed it to me being a TA for that class instead of me being a student for the class. And me being a TA automatically gets me that other upper level credit that I needed. And all I had to do was just say, hey, like Joe, like I need the upper level credit. He's like, yeah, I'm happy to work. I'm happy to work with you on that.
A little uncomfortable, but he just asked and then.
Well, no, because he and I had a relation. It's always important in college. I found to have a relationship with the professors because they have hundreds and hundreds of students and no one gives a crap and very few people care. But I've found that if I stop by their office hours, I would send them emails or I'd be like, hey, just had a question on this assignment. Or I wanted to just ask you about that. And like, could I just, what, like, I know that I may not have understood this so well. Can I come in and talk to you about this? And like, they love that.
Right.
They ate that up. Yeah. And then I become close to them and then they were more than happy to like work with me. Okay, you got a B for the class, but we'll give you a B plus because we know you need it for your transcript. Like, great.
Wow.
I'll take it.
Right.
But only the teachers that I had a relationship with.
Right.
That
relationship helped you expand and get what you need.
Yeah. So you did the same thing. You got to the board.
Yeah.
Got to change to official withdrawal.
I changed it to official withdrawal. It allowed me to apply, and then going through the interview process just to speed up the story. It was a lot because like you're going through like
what's med school's interviews like?
Each school has its own
what was
thing.
Like?
But like it was a lot just because like you went through 2 3 years of pre-med, 4 years of pre-med for most people, and then like to turn around the second you graduate, start studying for the MCAT, which is grueling. Before med school that was grueling. Now looking back, it probably easy, but to study for the MCAT, put 3 or 4 months, and then after you put those 3 or 4 months of each day grinding for 8 hours, 10 hours, is start applying and writing your letter, your entry letter. I forgot what they call it, your opening personal statement.
Okay.
And filling out application after application is just exhausting. And it's like I want to break. Like when is there going to be a break?
Yeah.
So it was a lot. Like I was like,
how many schools did you apply to?
And so like I pushed off the application process after I finished because I was like, I need a break. I'm gonna stop. And then I was like, I'm gonna apply next year. My MCAT score was good, but it wasn't amazing. So I was like, I'm gonna retake the MCAT. And my friend convinced me to just apply with the score score I got. So I ended up applying super late. So at that point, I probably applied to 10, 15 schools. Not that many. It's compared to
sounds like a lot.
It sounds like a lot, but it's not that many.
Expensive to apply. No, it's expensive. $100 to apply.
It's expensive to apply. So like you have to like use judgment. So I was late. It was like 3 months after you were supposed to apply right away. It was June, July, August. It was like August, September time where I started applying. So it was like, especially with the scores not unbelievable, you want to apply super early so that they see you first. So you're at the end. They're like, all right, we're gonna take you. So I applied to 10, 15 schools. I got a couple of interviews, which ups and downs or just emotions. I got in, and then finally, long story short, I got into Nova. I got it right. They saw it. They said we were going to meet with you. Met with them in December, and then found out like a month or two later. But you're waiting. But that was
crazy. Also, what was that like when you got into med school?
That was wild. It was Friday afternoon, and I knew something was coming. It was coming. It was like the time. It was like around that time. I called them to be like, hey, what's going on? And
you called them?
Yeah, I was like, oh, like because I was like, I haven't heard. And it was but that's the thing. And we're gonna get into like
make a difference. Other people don't do that.
Everyone in applying to med school does that, which is it's just exhausting in a way. Most people don't do that. Everyone in applying to med school does that. You have to remind the school, assuming you don't get in, assuming that you don't hear back from them. And you have to remind them, like, hey, what's happening with my application and interview that we did? Like, yeah. So it's a lot. It takes a lot out of you. Like, I don't want to do that. You're like, no, you have to do that. So just send them an email. And like I sent them an email and like shut the computer. Like I don't want to see it. Like because like it's like it's stressful. Weird, it's stressful. Scary. It's like like hey, I'm so happy. And then you have to also each time you meet with an interviewer, you have to say like, hey, it was so nice to meet with you. Thank you so much for your time. Like so like it took a lot out of you. Like you don't want to. I don't want to do that. Like it wasn't so nice to meet with them. It was draining and stressful. It wasn't fun. But like you still say it. So I sent all those emails saying it was so nice to meet with you. And Friday afternoon. We're getting ready for Shabbos, and I got an email, and like my heart drops. It was really cool. I was like, oh my goodness.
It's from like admissions at Nova died.
Yeah, it's exactly from admissions, and like I opened it up without thinking, and like it's so not me because usually like something like is like sensitive information, like did it pass or not? Like I'll look, kind of look away, like try not to look right away, so like kind of like slow it down.
Yeah.
And I just opened it up and I was like reading, and I'm like, no, I don't know what I'm reading. And I freaked out. I ran to the first person I saw, and I just gave them my phone. I couldn't talk. It was a lot. And
By the way, when I got
everyone
into,
at school started screaming. Everyone else started screaming, and everyone was crying. I don't know. It was a lot.
it's amazing.
There was a lot of
What did you
emotions.
feel? Did you feel scared that like now you're starting med school, or just relieved like I did this step, like
Both,
or
both. It was like because I was moving up. It was Florida, and at that point, I
You didn't
that
have
was
any
my
idea
last
about Florida.
attempt, so I didn't have anything else. But also, like it was mixed of like leaving, moving to Florida. It was excitement that I got in
What did
because
Tomo
like
think about moving to Florida?
um. Also, that was another aspect because like she thought the whole time that I was becoming a PA in her head for some. So like there was a transition point where I decided I'm going to med school. So that was a process which I think was cool in the sense that we figured it out together. I was like, oh, like a PA to med school, like it's a big change. It's a lot more schooling. It's gonna be a lot on you. Like you have to be okay with it. And it took her. I'm happy she didn't just say like, yeah, it's fine. Like it took her a couple
Shoot
of
to think about
days
it.
to think about it. I remember we were on a honeymoon or something when I
Where'd you go?
pitched the idea. I went to Florida, funny of all places, and she thought about it. And on like to end of the honeymoon, she was like, let's do it. So she gave her consent to go through it. It wasn't like, hey, we met in the middle of high school and now she has to go through it. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
was this joint decision, which
Right.
was really nice.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so that helped the process, especially now going through it. Like she made the decision to do it with me. It wasn't just me doing it, and then she's just on the outside. Um, but yeah, we're speaking of getting into school. You said you had a similar experience with getting in.
Yeah, when I got into Binghamton, because I at that point when I was transferring to Binghamton, I was applying with every trick in the book that I could find. Right, my high school transcript was awful. I'd only been in community college for a semester.
Yeah.
I had a total of 5 classes, which it was 3 credits a class. Right.
Makes
No,
sense. Three
I
credits.
had 4 classes. I took
Four
I was,
classes, 3 credits. A
4 classes, 3 credits a class.
So 12. So 12 credits total.
I had 12 credits in, no, I had 15 credits
Oh,
total in
that's pretty good.
RCC.
From high school.
From
That's
RCC. No, not from high school.
Oh.
No credits from high school.
No credits,
Bad
sorry.
grades from high school. I had like a either a B minus or a C plus average for high school. Right?
Right.
Like that was my GPA. It was like or I don't know what GPA like out of 4 is, but whatever.
And you couldn't hide it.
And I couldn't. Well, so I found out that you're allowed to hide it if you have the equivalent of more than I think 45 credits in college, then you don't have to show your SAT scores or your high school transcript because you've gone through presumably enough schooling that that those don't matter so much, and this is the most relevant information about you. And I happen to know, I found out that Binghamton accepts credit from Rashid from when I went to Israel for the year. And so when I applied, I had 30 credits from there, and I had 15 credits from community college.
It's fine.
And I had straight A's in Israel because I mean, what are you not getting an A for?
Right.
And then I had 15, and then I took, and actually I remember and then I had my 15 credits that were all A's, and I actually dropped one class because I had like a B plus, and I dropped out the last day that I could because I was like, I'm not applying unless I have all A's. So I was like, I'd rather apply with less credits and all A's than 3 more credits and have a B plus and throw the monkey wrench in there. At least I could say, hey, you know, I'm transferring in from another college. I've been in college, right? Because I have all the credits, and I didn't expect to get in because I only had 1 semester of real college.
It's hard to get in.
Apparently, it's much harder to get in applying from high school than it is transferring in. That's another thing I learned. That transferring from college to college is much easier to do. Like if I was to apply to Columbia, no chance I'll get in from high school. But if I went to community college for a year or 2, and I had straight A's, then the odds skyrocket of me getting into Columbia. Yeah. So so when I was applying to Binghamton, I wasn't applying as a first-time student. I was applying as a transfer, as a sophomore, as a second semester sophomore. That I already had that amount of I had a year and a half of classes, and so I apply. I didn't think anything's gonna happen, and I remember and it was during the spring because I got accepted over the summer to start the fall, and I'm having and I was working with my dad, and I have allergy, and I'm having allergy attacks. I have terrible pollen allergies, and I'm sneezing and I'm coughing and I'm miserable, and I get an email from the school that I got accepted, and I'm like, it can't be.
There's no way.
I said, it's not true. It's like, I tell my dad, I remember I'm in the office, I tell my dad, like, I think I got accepted to Binghamton. He's like, what do you mean you think? I was like, well, I got an email that says I got in. He's like, okay, so I called the admissions office. I'm like, hi, my name's Ryan Rushman. I think there's a mistake.
I think you did it.
I think there's
No
a
way.
mistake. I got into college. And they're like, that's not a mistake. And, well, congratulations. Like, you got, like, like, we'd love to, we're excited to see you in the fall or whatever it is. And I'm like, I can't believe it. Like,
Wow.
I never thought I'd get to school. I never thought I was going to get accepted to college, dude. I never thought I would get in. And a college away from home, forget about it. It never crossed my mind. But
so there was this like gradual realization that you got it. It wasn't like immediate. Like they made a mistake, and like you had to took your time to figure.
I was in complete denial about it at first, and then I was just like, I'm hyped, and then I was like, I'm committing to going to a college where I know one person, and I spent 1 weekend there. That's all I know. Like
mixed emotions.
Zach Alexander, my buddy,
Right.
was there. I went to visit him twice. Actually, I visited twice, and I was like, I got to go to school here. Yeah, and then going back to the hospital, going back to the ambulance thing. One of the times I visited, I overdrank, and I was throwing up in the toilet. And Zach asked, he asked me if I knew where I was. I didn't, apparently, and so he got scared. He called Hatella. Hatella didn't come.
That was the gauge. If you don't know where you are.
Hatella came. They took me to the hospital. The hospital said I was fine. Right? They just basically gave me an IV and sent me home. And this is on Shabbos. This is on Friday. This is on Saturday morning. I'm visiting a college. I don't know where I am. They're like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't have my phone. I don't have my wallet. I don't have anything."
This is before you got in, or this is after?
This is before I got in. This is when I'm just visiting, right? And it's 6 o'clock in the morning on a Shabbos on a Saturday, and they throw me in a cab and they're like, "Goodbye."
All right.
And like,
but you don't know where you're going.
I don't know where I'm going. And the guy's like, "Where are you going?" And I remember that my friend's building was called Hayes. Like, do you know something called Hayes? And he's like, it's near the university. I'm like, I don't know. And he put it in, and he put it in his GPS, and like it popped up. But there's like 8 buildings, so I like trying each building's door to see like which one my friend lives in.
And which one do you remember?
Hungover. I'm still probably drunk. Yeah. I'm fresh out of the hospital.
Shoes and socks.
No, I have shoes and socks. But I lost my like $400 winter coat. I left it in the hospital.
Sucks.
And then I didn't tell my parents about it. I go home, and like 2 months later, my dad calls me and goes, "Did you go to the doctor like a month ago?" I'm like, "The doctor? No, I didn't go to the doctor." I got a bill for like $1,500. I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm like. And I'm like, so you know how Zach is like a massive pansy? And my dad's like, yeah. I'm like, so I drank too much. I threw up, and he freaked out that I was throwing up. So he called the ambulance. And he goes,
oh my goodness.
Oh, okay. And he goes,
you didn't care.
That's it. And that was it. That was the end of it. But like, he's like, what'd you do? And I'm like, I went in the ambulance. I was like, they didn't have to pump my stomach. They didn't do anything. They asked me to pee. I was like, I don't have to pee. They're like, we're gonna stick a catheter in you. I'm like, okay, I'll pee. I'll do anything you want. Just don't stick a catheter in me. And then I was like, and then they just sent me home. I was like, okay.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
That was it.
That's great.
I don't know what happened. I think I had to file the claim with insurance. So that
you didn't pay it? He went.
I don't remember what happened. I didn't pay it out of pocket. I think insurance covered it.
Interesting.
If possible.
Do they do that? I guess to a certain extent.
Let's take a quick break for half a second, if you don't mind.
Also, back.
We're back.
So I didn't think I was getting in, also because like I had hid, which is why I was so elated to find out. I think I had hid some transcripts, and on the interview they were like, "Oh, can you tell us about that?" And it threw me for a loop, and I was like, I blinked out. I didn't know what to say.
What'd you say? I could see. By the way, I would be totally taken by surprise.
Right, I'm so not good on the fly, like at thinking on the spot, like all these questions, because like the interview process, you asked how that was. Like it was a lot about like, what would you do if you were taking the test and you saw that someone next to you was looking at their friend's paper?
No way, really?
And med school is all about like integrity and ethics and obviously report them. Like if you don't have some sort of answer that involves reporting them or telling them, hey, you should do that and like and get help, then like so it's like not something that normal. Like usually people be like, well, either that doesn't affect me or like Like I don't. Most people I think would say doesn't affect me. Like why should I
Yeah,
care?
we're also like we don't like the idea of being snitches in
Right.
general, right?
And med school's the opposite. You have to give
I
these
guess
answers
because
that
med
are
school, they're saying like in order to get through it, you really have like you can't compromise on the quality of the knowledge that you have. And like if you're cheating on a test, that means that you shouldn't be a doctor. You shouldn't be like answering these questions for people if you're not sure of them yourself.
But what about if you see someone else cheating? You're not cheating, but apparently seeing someone else cheating and not doing something about it somehow has to do with your ethics and your integrity being faulty. I don't know why.
Well,
But
can
well,
you?
I know why, but it's just hard for me to figure out like why do you care so much if I see someone else? Yeah, I get it that you for you cheating you can't do that, and going through med school they don't want people to do that. But to see someone else cheating, like that will all of a sudden like that means that there's something wrong if you're not reporting them or like it has to go along the lines of like, hey, you go over them after the class and be like, I saw what you're doing. It's really something that we don't do,
I don't
and
know. Yeah, but that's a hard thing to do
hard to
too.
do, and you have to say it, and it's just like if whether it feels wrong or not, you have that. Those are the answers that they want. And I'm not gonna think on the fly. They asked me this question about like, hey, can you tell us about your experience at Neri Sral? And like they were essentially asking me like, why didn't I put it on the transcript? I put the unofficial withdrawals. That wasn't a
So
big
what did you
deal.
say?
And I said something along the lines of like, oh, that was a long time ago. At that time, it was like 4 years ago, so a long time ago is relative. Four
So a
years
long time ago.
ago, and I made something up, and they were like, okay. So like after the interview, bugged out. I was like, that's horrible. They
This was
did.
Nova
And this
asking.
was Nova asking, and I was like,
Wow,
I'm not getting in. So like, there were a lot of emotions riding on that, like me thinking I screwed up the interview. So to get in was really nice.
it's crazy.
Um,
So you get in.
so I get in.
You moved down to Florida.
Moved out to
You
Florida.
just came back from your vacation, your honeymoon in Florida.
Exactly, and that was it.
What'd you do for your honeymoon? How long was it for? How long was it?
2 or 3 days. I think at that point it was like more like a baby moon. We stayed in Surfside, Grand Beach, did that whole chill.
The
Like we went
Grand
out to eat
Beach.
and Grand
Yeah.
Beach. We don't do a lot of vacations. We just do beach and eat.
Eat
That's
restaurants.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not like a hiking type or
Panama
just
Canal type.
Panama Canal type. I just want to just do it. Just yeah, live in the moment and to get some sun.
Vitamin D is what it's all about. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
So I come here 2 weeks before med school, then start, and I think that's when I officially met you. That's when I was down in the show.
Yeah, that's how you started.
You remember what I was like?
Yeah, of course I do.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
mess.
What?
It was horrible.
What do you mean? You were horrible?
It was the first 4 months of school
Yeah.
were
Oh,
atrocious.
oh, oh.
Do you
I
remember
don't know if
my
that
state of
ever.
being
I don't know if that ever reflected
on each other's?
outwards. Yeah, to other people. Especially because I think we were more cordial at that point in the sense of just, hey, see you around Friday night at Shabbos
Right.
Day. But
I guess that's in a way that's good.
but I remember
Yeah.
being pretty surprised to like meet someone my age with a family and being like, "Oh, I'm starting med school in a month." I'm like, "You are like,
You idiot.
I don't think you're an idiot. I thought you were very confident in your like very confident in your plan, or there was something that I was missing in the picture. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
What's the answer?
Whether
There's something I was missing in the picture, I
there was
guess.
something
Yeah,
else
missing
in
the
the
whole
picture.
context, you know?
That's what it was. There was something else missing. Med school is it's even for the right person. It's just it's a lot. Even right, obviously a lot of people are not cut out for it. The schooling, the information, but like even if you like the information and you like the body, which I'm assuming you're going to med school, like you like that. It's just most people that are going to med school, I think are I'm super I'm intense. I'm one way or the other. There's no like in between.
Right.
Like I like a
You're
song,
all in, you're
I'm
not in.
listening to it 50 times that day, and then 60 times the next day. Like I'm burning out of that song, and I'm gonna do all out, right?
It's
Like
so interesting,
I
really.
take a break. I'm not taking a break for 5 hours. I'm taking a break for
2 days.
2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going a long time. There's no in between,
Do
and
you like that with everything else, or yeah? Well,
a
let's say with
lot of
food. Let's say
things.
eating. Right.
Well, it's hard to do because eating you kind of like you can't.
I know, but eating can be like on a healthy train where you eat like nothing unhealthy, and like I got friends. I have a friend of mine that like when he's like I'm being healthy, he'll lose like 30 pounds, and then like he'll be like, okay, I'm done, and
Yeah.
like he'll just like go back to everything he was doing
100%.
beforehand, and then just getting right back.
Getting right back and more.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. If I'm on a diet, I'm gonna lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks,
Right.
which is super. Yeah, I mean, I don't have to say how unhealthy that is. and then once I'm off, and then I'm not thinking about it. I'm not like I'm eating not healthy on purpose. It's just like I'm eating whatever I want. But when I'm on a diet, I will starve myself.
Really?
And just the way
interesting.
I got a little bit better, like trying to find balance in the dieting world when I go on a diet. But in other things, like it's still a work in progress. And so in med school was definitely this work in progress of like trying to find that balance. The first 4 months was just atrocious, just going nonstop and like getting to Shabbos and like in a whirlwind, studying the whole day. It's like med school is like what do I say? It's like the job you take home with you. You're your own boss. You're taking home your work because you have to. There's no nonstop studying, but you just don't make any money.
Yeah.
And it's just so tons of, and at least like you're producing something, like there's so many emotions. So the first 4 months was like trying to find some sort of regulation and balance,
and you had no idea
and like in tune with myself, right? And like you have no time to like think. And I had a trick. I had one or two things that like kind of helped.
Because you've been much more balanced in the last year and a half, I would say, than your first year, right?
100%. I found a couple of things that helped.
What helped?
One of them was, this does sound funny. One of them was not looking at my test grades.
Really?
So we prepare for a test, and we take it. We take the exam. We had an exam like at least once a week, and I wouldn't look for at least 2 weeks. I wouldn't look. 2 weeks down or 3 weeks down, like after the motion settled, I'd look just to see where I was holding, but like it didn't matter. Like I knew that I had passed. At the time, I was like, I was confident that there was no way
you got a passing grade.
I got a passing grade on all my exams. Like I knew that just about, and so I knew that I had passed. I knew I gotten over a 70. So did I get an 80 or a 90? Like did it matter?
Right.
Like,
what's the point of killing yourself?
What's the point? Like I'm gonna be so upset that I didn't get the A and I got an 87 and I could have gotten a 90. I was 3 points off. Like I would drive myself bananas if I knew that. So like I knew that I passed, and it was content on just being like I did good, and forget about it. And
that's really awesome.
Everyone's like, oh, what did you get? What did you get?
Like, I don't know.
I don't know. And they're like, what do you mean you don't know? I was like, I didn't look, and they couldn't believe it. Like,
that's
for
crazy.
2 weeks I wouldn't look. And also there was an aspect of like, I think for me, trusting in Hashem, that like it's not my business. I put in the work. I drove myself nuts.
Yeah.
And like now it's up to you. Like I know you could do whatever you want. After the grade comes out, you could change it. Like whatever it is. Yeah. So I felt like I was doing a little bit of like ishtalas, being like, you got it, and like, but it helped a tremendous amount. It really made it easier.
It's a really
on the stress on the levels of school. What were you gonna say?
It's a really interesting notion, the idea of keeping things unknown and keeping the potential like out there for as long as possible. You know, like how long can you not look? Like if something's in your drawer and you don't know what's in your drawer, and like how long can you wait and it stays undefined in your head for a certain period of time? You know,
kind of like with I don't know if you ever did this, where they give you a script when you go to when your wife's pregnant, and they tell you what the gender is, and then you open it up later at home.
Yeah.
You ever did this?
Well, I've always just clicked the link like right
away. We asked them to write it down, and the general idea was I was going to look, until it wasn't. We did that on the last one.
Oh really?
But
so you
we
knew?
Didn't open it up. Each night we would like open it up a tiny bit and close. And like for about a month or two.
No way.
We would not. We would like oh.
So do you know now?
And we didn't know for 2 months. Now I'm planning on finding out. But it hasn't been 20 weeks yet.
You should come by for an ultrasound. We'll let you know.
You know what it is?
I know what it is. Yeah.
You know what yours is. Now Tova's having.
I don't know what Tova's having. I know what Rafa's having.
Is that a secret?
It is not so much of a secret, but not
for the
out
podcast.
There. Not for the podcast. Not for the podcast.
For the tens of
listeners that I have. Yeah.
What'd you call them? The
friends of the pod.
The friends of the pod.
Friends of the podcast. I heard that expression for the first time recently. I heard it twice. I heard it. There's this podcast I listen to called The Town. The guy named Matt Bellamy. It's about Hollywood and the entertainment industry and like the business of the entertainment industry. They don't speculate on like whether a movie's good or not. How much money did it make? What it cost to make? What's the marketing expenses? Is the person that made the movie happy, unhappy? Is the studio happy, unhappy? You know, like all that kind of stuff, which is a lot of fun.
Right.
But like, you know, and like there are like 2-3 times a week for half an hour of podcast.
And it's easy.
And yeah, but like he gets legit guests, you know, like he got like one of the co-founders of Netflix on, and like he got like heads of studios on, and so like he'll like randomly reference like, oh yeah, that guy Tom Cruise, friend of the pod, you know, like, he's like, sorry for always, but like this guy's he's awesome because he calls out people like to their face. He's like, so how is blowing $50 million on a movie that's not going to make that any money? And
wow, that's funny.
Yeah,
and it's Tom Cruise is probably not a friend of the pod. I mean,
he's not a friend of the pod. No, I don't think
he's
so.
just making fun. He's just
yeah. He just friend of the pod. And
then
Tim Dillon does the same thing. He's like, so I got a message one time from Tulsi Gabbard. So she's Tulsi Gabbard, friends of the pod. You know,
Bobby Jones, the guy from Bad Friends. Is his name Bobby Jones?
Bad Friends.
The podcast.
Oh, Bobby Lee.
Bobby Lee. He does something similar. He said where it's fun. This reminded me of what I did.
Do you listen to that podcast?
No, I'll listen to it when they are on other people. So like, okay, they were on with the
Tim Dillon.
Tim Dillon. So
yeah, like a month ago.
And maybe Theo Vaughn was on with them. So then I would listen. If they had good guests, I think them alone is okay. But he said he did something where,
thank you.
He said he did something where he doesn't know. I don't know if you heard this. He doesn't know. He doesn't know how much money's in his bank account.
What?
Yeah, I could pull it up. He doesn't know. I wish I could tell someone else to pull it up.
Yeah, Jamie.
Jamie.
I'm gonna have that guy soon.
Yeah, you're 100% friend of the pod should do that.
Friend of the pod. Yeah.
He doesn't know how much is in his bank account. He says he knows that he asked his accountant, the person that takes care of his money. I wish I could should I pull it out?
Yeah, try to find it. Definitely.
Let me find it. But I was like, oh, that reminds me of what I did, and like without looking, like not looking, like he knows that he's good.
Right. Once you know that like you're not overdrawing, then like who cares how much is in there?
Right. Exactly. Pause it. Pause it. Isn't tight.
You had to get that on the pod. Yeah.
Bobby Lee's his name?
Yeah, Bobby Lee. Are you getting allergies now? I'm getting allergies now.
I'm usually bad with pollen also, but now
I get them during this time of year in Florida.
What do you take for it?
Nothing, which is why I'm sneezing and coughing, and my nose is itching, and
why do you take Claritin?
I get hot flashes.
Hot flashes. Why do you take Claritin or something?
I don't know.
It's good, yeah. I found it. Yeah, this is it.
I'm Claritin skeptical, hesitant.
How much money do you make? I don't know. You gotta have an idea. I have a money guy. When I first signed him 15 years ago, I go, I don't want to know how much money I have. I don't want to live in a world where I'm like always looking at my bank account, worried and this and that. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I pay for my mortgage. I don't know what I pay for my car.
Wow.
I don't know what insurance costs. I don't know what my light utility costs. All that's taken care of. Every bill. Phone bill. I don't even know where to go. Are you curious? No.
I'm the same way, by the way, pretty much.
And I'll start panicking. Sure. Like, I need to do more. But if you don't know, then you just kind of I just live my life. Like, I asked my money guy, I go, how long can I not work until I run out of money? Yeah. And he goes, a long, long time. How much money do you make? I don't know. You gotta have it.
Isn't that nuts?
I would like to live like that.
And I don't know how much money I have in my bank account.
You don't?
I don't know.
Tova knows.
I told Tova, and Tova was like, oh, we have. I was like, Tova, don't tell me. I was like, don't want to know. I literally told you not to say, and now I know. So like, I don't know exactly. Now this is last week. Now I know a little bit because you told me. But before that, I had zero.
Wow. Well, so I think that the idea is great as long as your expenses aren't growing, and as long as your income, as long as the progress on the work that you're doing develops, right? So for Bobby Lee, he's a comedian, right? If he gets more tour dates, he knows that he has more money, presumably, right. You know, and he also knows that I don't know Bobby Lee at all. I'm assuming he doesn't have a family. Maybe he does. If he doesn't have a family, if he's one of the many comedians, no, I'm just assuming because a lot of comedians don't that are on the road. You're a comedian that's on the road and you don't have a family, your expenses aren't going up either, right? So the question is, how long can I'm doing more shows. I don't have any expense. I don't have any tuition. I'm not paying any food for anyone. I'm not paying, whatever. I'm just, how am I doing staying at this Holiday Inn? Can I stay at a nice hotel? Great. Let me stay there, while I'm on the road for 5 days a week. So I think that philosophy kind of works better, I'm sure. Like if I start getting advertisements and doing more podcasts, and I see the numbers are bigger and like I start getting money from that, I'm going to stop checking.
Yeah.
Like I don't care. It's not what it's about.
I think because also it does something when you start checking. You're like, oh, maybe I should go to the nicer hotel. I should get this nicer car, as opposed to just keeping a status quo. And
But that's why I always.
you're going along, and like it just everything's the same, and like you're making money. It's good. You just keep along the same. Why does life have to change because you have a few extra dollars?
Yeah,
in your,
yeah,
yeah. What were you gonna say?
yeah. The same. The similar notion that I if I have more than X amount, let's say like a month and month and a half mortgage in my bank account. If I have more than a month and a half mortgage in my bank account, I just send the difference to Rachel or an investor.
Right.
Like,
that's awesome.
Do it, like take it, like like I don't want it because I know that I'll spend it. Like I know that like once I see that I have more than what I need, I spend it, and I don't want to spend it necessarily. I just know that I will. So like as long as I look at the number and the number stays in like a range where I'm like, let me just be regular and healthy,
right.
Then great. But if not, then I become an idiot about it, and I buy $40 bottles of beer instead, and I'm like, I don't need to do this. I wipe up.
And why do you think you do that? Because you see that you.
Yeah, because I see I have more money. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I could do it. Why not? It's fun.
Right. I remember every time Tova's like, "Oh, she got a raise," or I just got extra loans from the school, or we got like our tax return, and she's like tells me she's like, "Oh,
we're doing all right."
Tax return just hit. Like, let's go out. Like, why we have to go out because our tax return got like that's where we're going out because our tax return is in like. You go out because you need to go out. You go out once a week. We try to go out once a week, and that's it. And
do you?
We try to. It's been a whirlwind with the studying and.
How did moving affect your relationship, positively or negatively? Because you're moving away from your in-laws, right?
Yeah. So and I always try to keep.
By the way, I'm not saying good or bad. It's just different. Like
it's different.
Yeah, it's totally different. Meaning, I love my parents. It's just different that we don't live in the same state as them. So there's nothing to do with liking or. I don't want the automatic response to be like, oh yeah, in-laws are bad.
Right.
But
there's some.
But the difference in like, yeah, your life is different when you don't have the support of family down the block.
And they rely more on you.
A mother-in-law to babysit, your kids if you guys want to go out for a night or whatever.
So you rely on each other.
Yeah.
I think at the end it was good. In the beginning it was like it was a lot of tension. She was very upset. Their house wasn't ready, so we were living in a hotel for 2 weeks. So it was a lot. And then as time moved on.
How'd you decide on Hollywood Hills?
What?
How'd you decide on Hollywood Hills?
Because
you weren't in Emerald. Emerald Hills was more of a community.
Davey was in Fort Lauderdale, so Hollywood is the best option in terms of commute.
Yeah, but there's West Hollywood.
So between West Hollywood, we were looking at the West Hollywood. We were gonna go check it out. And then we heard this new community, or not community at that point. It was just more a few people that were looking to start something. I got Brahman's number
How'd
somehow.
You hear that?
I don't know.
Because when I moved in, I only moved there. I didn't know that anything existed there. I moved there because I was like, we could walk to Emerald Hills for Shabbos if we need. I was like, but I took a gamble on the fact that Emerald Hills was so expensive that I knew that anyone that didn't have wealthy in-laws or was extremely wealthy themselves at a young age, if they ever wanted a house, they couldn't live in Emerald Hills. So I took it. So it was either Griffin, close to the airport, Fort Lauderdale Airport, or Hollywood Hills.
How'd you know about Hollywood Hills though?
I didn't. So I just knew that. I knew that there was 3 main streets. I knew there was Sheridan, Griffin, and Sterling. Right? I knew that Sterling was expensive. I knew that people were either going to go to Griffin or to Sheridan. I saw there was more available on Sheridan. And I was like, there's probably more people that are going to move here.
Uh-huh.
And I was walking to Emerald Hills every week when I went for the first couple of months that I lived here.
How long did that take?
It's like between 45 minutes and an hour. I was going to Heichal.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Without a scooter.
Without a scooter.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. I mean, granted, I was living on Sheridan at that point, so it was a little bit of a shorter walk, right? Because I didn't have...
A little bit.
It was a little bit of a short... It saved me 10, 15 minutes, right? I wouldn't do it now.
Right. Rachel came?
No.
No.
And times I wouldn't go. Times where we just moved in, I'd be like, listen, like, we woke up at 10 o'clock, we didn't have an alarm, or 10:30. I'm like, by the time I walk there...
She wasn't there.
I'm missing it. Yeah, there's nothing...
Right.
Yeah.
So you could...
And I didn't know about anything in the neighborhood. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I somehow got Brahman's number, called him up, and he said, hey, we were just taking a walk. I was taking a walk with my wife the other day, and we see this house for sale. And
he was saying this.
And he was telling us, and he said, grab it. And we looked into it. My in-laws looked into it.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
By the way, it's never going to be a bad investment.
Yeah. I mean, they looked at it as an investment, which is why my in-laws got it. But exactly. Now it's just someone's selling next door.
It could be finance and just pay off the mortgage. I mean, like, pretty cool.
But anyway, so I was out of the tricks. And so then there's another thing that I did to help me with school, which I thought helped, is the Shabbos, no studying over the weekend.
Yeah.
Which was a big deal.
That helped?
That helped, and like
because it gave you that time to like
to just not do anything, like to breathe. It gave me time to breathe. Like you're not. If you could, no one could go. It's not sustainable to do that. Like it's not sustainable to do
but
it
people
within
do it,
6 days.
right?
People do it 7 days a week.
I
You
know.
lose it. And like I remember my friend coming to me, and like it was in the middle of first year, and he's like, he had a dream to become an OB. His father was an OB. He's not a Jewish guy, and he's like, I'm done. He's like, I can't do this anymore.
Wow.
And like he was, and we were like, take a break, go. And he's like, I can't take a break. Like you don't allow yourself to do it. I mean, most people I think are intense. That mentality of like, we need to know everything, and we need to we need to know all the information there is, and it's just impossible. It's not possible to know everything.
Yeah.
But you need, like, that's how that mentality that you need to succeed is to get everything and learn everything. So it takes a lot out of you, and he wasn't taking break. Like there was no, he didn't have that Shabbos. I think made a difference. It really
It
made a
does.
difference.
It makes a huge difference.
The problem is that people study on Shabbos, and then you kind of like it takes away from just the break. You have some break because you go to see people davening.
Right. You definitely have a break. I mean, you have a couple hours. You have a couple hours at night, a couple hours in the day. You know, that's a big deal.
Yeah. But just to say like, hey, like I'm leaving this time just for my family. It made a huge, massive difference.
I was talking to.
Yeah.
Actually, I was listening to a podcast with Andrew Huberman where he was talking to, what's his name, Walker, the sleep specialist, Matthew Walker, and
I have to listen to that one.
is amazing. And the whole there was a
Makes sense
6 or
to me.
7 part series. It was amazing, but one of the things that they talked about was sleep in relationship to learning, right? And how important it is for sleep for long-term memory. That like cramming works for short-term, right? So like if you're studying all night and then you sleep, you crash for like an hour and a half on the couch, you'll retain that information for a couple of days,
Right.
but then you forget it all. It's like you never learned it, you know? And there was, and they were talking about like, we're in a system where we're making our doctors go through learning experiences
Wow.
that stop them from being the best doctors they could be, because like we have this notion that like the rigor and the intensiveness is what makes them doctors, like, but then you don't remember, like we know science, like as science, as like the way that the human brain works, that you don't
That's so
remember as much
interesting.
when you're cramming that much, and it doesn't actually help you, you know.
Wow.
And like what you're describing is like what people might need. I mean, you know, like
I think it's so interesting. I think you told me that like a week ago, and I never realized, like I didn't realize the importance of sleep in that aspect of like helping you
to
retain
to
information,
retain.
to retain it for the long term. Which is, I guess, another problem with the whole med school experience.
People don't
is
sleep.
People don't sleep, and you don't. No, they were saying not retaining information, which
That's
is
it.
horrible for long term for to be a doctor.
Yeah.
Because you kind of need to know everything.
Do you think you remember a lot of the things that you studied?
Yeah, and even with my all flashcards and Anki, which is what a lot of med students and doctors use to help retain information, like because the
Yeah.
cards progress kind of, so it helps for memory
They build
retention.
on each other, right?
But yeah, you still forget. Like this exam, I was like, crap, I literally just learned this, and
Yeah.
I why is it blinking? This so it just does a lot.
Okay, so tell me. So now we go full circle to this
So now we're
exam.
going full circle. So oh wait, almost. What was the other trick? Because I wanted to say. Oh, also I took off after my exam days. I took off. I tried to take that day off.
So today, yesterday you had an exam. Today you're not doing anything.
Exactly.
Nice.
Well, this is different because now I actually have nothing to do. But there, like med school is so you always have something to do. Here, I actually have nothing to do. But there, like the next exam is right around the corner. Like you have to start preparing. Like so theoretically, there was this mindset like go 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 go. Like you don't have a time. You don't get to take.
Yeah.
And I was like, I won't know everything. I'm gonna take a day off. And so that helped, but it took me a couple of months till get to there where I was like able to self-regulate and be like, this is something that I need to do for my personal health.
Yeah.
But before that, I was a mess. It was 4
It's so good
months.
for you to figure that out.
Still work in progress, and I think it's still sometimes you forget because like you're like you get sidetracked. Like we had professors tell us like, and this would really bother me about med school. There's a bunch of things that bother me. But professors telling us like, guys, when I was in your shoes and I was in med school, like I didn't care. I didn't focus on my family, on my wife, or at that point, whoever their siblings going on, and now my mother is dead or something morbid is, and like I lost out on that time. Take advantage.
They said this.
They said this to us in school.
Wow.
During their lectures, they'd be like, take advantage and try to spend time with your family. And like I got so it bothered me so much because part of me was like, you idiot. Like, if you were back in our shoes, knowing what you know now, you'd still do the same thing because med school is exhausting in that sense.
Yeah,
that, like,
you
you
don't
don't
have a
have
choice
a
almost.
choice.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice. Like, it's great that you're saying it now when you're a doctor and you don't need to study and do as much as you needed to do. But like, you do the same thing over again. Like, thank you so much. Like, it's like you're trying to help us out, but in a way, it's
But it's
not
the system that's
it's
not
the
set up to
system. It's
actually
not set
implement
up
it.
right. If I started I wish I could start med school, and I would find a way. There has to be a way where like there's mandatory breaks. There's make breaks where like everything like you shut electricity
Everything
off in your
stops.
house. Everything stops. You take off. I'm sure there'll be some people that'll try to beat the system in the school that I start in my
Sure.
head, and they'll figure it out. But most people won't.
Yeah.
And
And they'll probably do good.
and they'll
They'll
probably
do well.
do good, and I'll get exciting teachers that love teaching, and that it's not school's not necessarily about you have to know everything, but like in an exciting way, picking up information, not just shoving it down your throat. It goes a long way. There's
It
a
goes,
lot.
yeah.
It's a lot. So now that's my that's
So you think that it needs
I think,
reform? You think that
I think med school needs to change that it's not built up even for the people that love it. It's not it takes a toll. Takes a toll.
yeah,
On
yeah,
everyone.
yeah.
It's not just like, oh,
Do you think
for you it,
but
it
you
works.
think it's part of the intention? You think it's intentionally that way? Like to kind of weed out the people that aren't completely dedicated to that life?
Yes. Yes. And you bring up a good point. And that's what pre-med's for and MCAT and
Like
studying for
imagine
that.
imagine if being a doctor was like being a real estate agent and like everyone like every like schmo decided to decided to take, and by the way, real estate agent's one of the hardest jobs on the market. I'm not trying to knock it, but to get your license is extremely easy.
Yeah.
You know?
So anyone could do it. So
Anyone
like,
can
hey,
do it,
anyone
yeah.
can just
So
apply to med school.
if someone says like, I'm far more surprised if I meet someone that's a real estate agent. I'm like, cool, and I'm like, have you closed any deals recently? And they're like, and if they say yes, then I'm like, awesome. And if they're like, oh well, I'm working on it, or I have this, I'm working at this company where I get to actually paid a salary, not a like, okay, dude, you're not a real like,
any other schmo.
Yeah, exactly. You know, then like you took the test like in 2 months, and like you passed, and now you don't know how to do, you know how to close a deal.
Right.
You know, like I hear that too. You know,
So I think it is to weed out the bad. It is that's what the pre med process is for. The process before med school is weed, and then MCAT is weeding and interviews and the
right?
applications.
Meaning that
Once
in
you're
and of
in
itself is already
school,
so.
once
Right.
you're in school, like you're gonna weed them out. Also, like there's so much weeding out to do. Like if it's grueling enough as it is without the extra pressure
Right.
of whatever it is. Like get teachers that are flat out entertaining. Get
Yeah.
teachers that it's just enjoyable. It's not just it's process where I had so many friends where like it was just like shove this information down our throat and then we'll party that night because that's what they did
Yeah.
for 3 years like so far is that same thing. So we get coming back full circle. End of second year. I haven't really shared this with anyone. And the second year, you take your boards as a DO student. It's normal to take the DO boards and the MD boards.
DO is what?
DO stands for Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine.
Okay.
And then there's something called MD, which is allopathic medicine doctor. Medicine doctor, I think. MD.
Medical doctor?
Medical doctor. Thank you. That sounds better. I knew it sounded weird. So
every MD is also an OP?
No, every MD is as an MD, and every DO is a DO.
Oh, DO, I mean, yeah.
DOs have this not advantage. It's a little bit of different mentality, a little bit easier to get into school, but there's also this idea of like body manipulation, which is what we incorporate into DO school, which is manipulating the body to get a desired result. We use our hands. It kind of overlaps with
Sounds dangerously close to holistic medicine.
It is.
It's a little dangerous over here. You don't want to be spreading any misinformation on. Come together.
I'm not sure if it's classified as an alternative medicine. I don't think it is.
Okay.
I think DO is still with is MDDO, but it is this idea of like we don't need to necessarily push drugs. We could achieve a desired result either through body manipulation or like empathizing. There's a lot of empathy that goes with DOs, like talking and being real, looking at the whole body. Just because you have something on your foot doesn't necessarily mean that your back is causing your foot pain.
Right.
And so we'll fix your back, and now like with our hands. So it overlaps with people that use their hands. Chiropractors. Yeah. So it overlaps with them a bit. What we do also. What do you say is a lot of what?
I don't remember.
Oh.
Yeah. Is there a lot of those classes in med school?
No. So it was one extra class that we take with this for DO, 2 hours a week, 2 hours a week.
They don't put a lot of
We don't put a lot of
emphasis
effort, but there is with the boards is a lot. Is it comes up to make sure you get certified. It does come up a fair amount. They don't put so much emphasis on it, but it's still there, and that's the difference essentially between MD and DO. It's a little bit easier to get into DO. So you have this thing where you could take the MD boards and the DO boards. So you take both of them to get certified in both, and then you could apply to residencies in both.
Yeah.
Long story short, took both. I took the MD boards, passed. DO boards, took them. I screwed up horribly with the timing.
What does that mean? You didn't finish the test?
I didn't finish the test. I clicked the answers, but I went in there so confident, and I was like, I got this. Like everyone's pissing in their pants, and like there was an idea where like I did what I could, and now I shouldn't take care of the rest, but in a stupid way. It wasn't like
right.
Oh,
You
wow,
didn't put in your full effort.
I was like, sky, and it comes, the time is ticking.
Yeah.
And this is good. I did the questions. I wasn't like an idiot, but I was an idiot that like I should have. I needed to pace myself. You get 4 questions. You get 4 sections for 4 hours. Each section's 44 minutes. 44. Each section's 44 questions.
So you had just over a minute per question.
About. Very good. Yeah.
Got the math over there. Yeah.
And I went through the first 3 sections, and then I had 5 minutes for the last 44 questions, and I just clicked.
No way.
Questions for the last 44. I took my hour break, and then process repeated itself. Two sections. There's 4 sections and 4 sections.
Yeah.
And then a break in between. Did the 3 sections. Had plenty of time to do the 3 sections, and then I had about 4 or 5 minutes to run through 44 questions, clicking. So that's 88 questions that I just didn't even see. 100% didn't even see. The time management was atrocious. I knew that going in, that I wasn't great with time management, and I just relied on my intellect to carry me through.
How'd that go?
I finished the test, and I was like, that was horrible.
You said that
was
yourself.
horrible. I didn't tell it to anyone because I was like, I'm gonna trust that it's good.
Yeah.
And that's why like I kept my mouth shut, and I was like, because if I say something, that means I am not trusting. So I trusted. I tried to. I mean, deep down, I knew it was atrocious.
80.
Atrocious.
So out of those
so to do the math, there's
44
you need to get a 70 to pass. There's 44 times 8. There's 352 questions. So to pass, you need to get
70% of
You need to get 246 questions.
And you immediately erased 88.
I immediately erased.
But the multiple choice.
Wait. So 246. With the multiple choice, so you have a chance. But I immediately erased 88 questions of that.
Let's say 60 questions, because that's you got 20% of them right.
So what are we doing with the math here?
So you got. So let's say you got 60 questions wrong.
60 questions off the top. So
off the top.
So times.
So now you have
minus 60.
Yeah.
Right? So that's total. So now I have 292 questions
to get
over.
And now it goes up. It's not 70%. Now it's
now I'm working right. Now it's close to that. Now
now you got to go higher than like an 80 or something like that. Yeah. Right.
So let's say times 0.8. I need to get 233. It's still
you had to do a lot right.
I think I got a lot right. And I knew that I didn't get, even though those questions that I got, I was like, whatever. It's a whirlwind. And
you're probably fatigued, no?
Yeah, and at the end you don't even know what you're seeing. Like, you're at the end 7 hours in, you're like your eyes, you need eye drop.
I can't imagine.
You're stocked up on Adderall.
Really?
And like I was, at least.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't say that.
No, it's okay. Everyone takes Adderall, dude. I'm one of the only people I know that's never taken it.
I mean, it's normal to take it in school. I'm in school. But like, it's still not helping because like there's only so much you can look at a computer screen and your heart, you kind of lose, your heart doesn't really race. So you kind of get in the zone.
Yeah.
But you can't look at a screen for that long. Your body's not meant to do that.
Yeah.
And long story short,
but you think a medical school would know, right?
Right, exactly. like it's not fair. At that point, it's like, why are you doing this? Like, there's no one's getting these answers right at 7 hours in.
Yeah.
Stop it. Stop the exam. Well, do it tomorrow. Come back tomorrow. Like, why can't they do that? I don't know why they don't do that. But they didn't ask me my opinion. So
that's a shame, dude.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
That's
when we started med school, we'll take your opinion.
Exactly. When I start my own school, then I can listen to myself. So I failed. It was a lot.
Did you care?
I cared a lot because it's one thing to say, like, I always thought of myself as like yeah, adversity, like
I got this.
That builds me, that builds character.
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier said than done. And like when it hits you in the face, at first it's like, it's fine, we got this. Like, gonna come back and just be stronger. And then it's like, I don't know, I needed to do like a whole like it happened. So it happened. I'll tell you when it happened. In middle of my vacation month in December.
This past December.
Yeah.
No way.
That's when
You
I
didn't
found
tell me
out.
anything about it?
No, I kept it really
Either of our
secret.
two podcasts
Didn't
and the
tell-
movie?
didn't tell anyone.
Okay.
I
Fine.
kept it really secret. Tova didn't like. Tova was like, "Why?" Like she didn't. I didn't. No one knows. The only one that knows is Goldfarb, and he's
Really?
him and the friend of the pod is listening. So
Yeah.
Goldfarb knows, and that was because I was super drunk and he came over one night, Shabbos, and like it was raining. I was walking back,
And you're talking
and I was
about
like, yeah, the rain was messing
I
with
love
my
him,
head.
by the way.
He's great.
I love him.
But
I love him.
and also I feel bad. I felt like I felt with him because like his father failed 2 or 3 times also.
Oh, really?
boards, so like I kind of felt like I could relate to that. But it was embarrassing. It was for me because like no one knows that like, oh, you screwed up with the timing. It was all they see is you didn't
failed,
pass
right?
the boards, and it was a lot. It was a lot for me to take in. It's probably the hardest moment of my life ever.
Really?
Like yeah, like Tova was like calling
But it's
me.
not anything you
She
want
thought
to
I would
do.
kill
Right?
myself.
Really?
Yeah, she was getting super nervous. I was like, I'm leaving. I told her I found out, and I left.
Where'd
And
you go? What'd you do? How'd you deal with it?
I drove down Taft
Yeah.
until it didn't go anymore.
Yeah.
And if you drive down Taft all the way, do you know where it takes you?
No.
It takes you to some.
Total Wine.
That would have been the great.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I got there. I didn't even know where I'm going. No, it takes you to a park. It takes you to this water park that's closed off because it was the winter. And I found a way to get in, and there's this beautiful park that's empty. Like, and it kind of so I guess there's a way to get into from the other side, but there's this sprawled out park with so many different sections. And I sat there for like 2 hours, just doing nothing.
Would you have your phone on
I had
you?
my phone on me.
Were you texting?
No, I told at one point was like, "Shua, I'm worried about you. Like, you got it. Like, I'm on text her. Like, I'm okay."
Yeah. You're just getting your thoughts together.
Yeah,
You're processing.
but I was processing, and a part of me was like, "It's not real." Like, I was in denial.
But did you care about the DO? Like, it didn't sound like who
No,
cares whether you passed your DO boards or not? Do you need to pass
Because
them?
you need to pass them.
Oh, you need to
The
pass
empty
them.
boards it doesn't matter. If you don't if the empty boards you don't have to take. If you take it, you have to pass it. But if you don't take, no one cares. The DO boards,
Really?
you're as a DO, you gotta.
But you're not a DO, are you?
I'm a DO.
Oh, you are
I
going to
am
be
a
a
DO.
DO.
Yeah. So I needed to pass those.
Okay.
You can't get certified in the MD now. You can't just pivot
Right.
in the middle of your DO school. So
when you graduate, you're
It
going to
was
be
a lot.
Shua. You're going to be Shua
DO.
Osteen DO.
But you could apply to MD residencies. I don't fully understand the intricacies of that, so you can't really ask.
Okay.
But you could apply to MD residencies as a DO, and what makes an MD residency if you're a DO? You're still going to graduate as a DO.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but you could.
Maybe it becomes a little
allows
easier
you,
to get the dual
right.
title, or I guess degree.
I don't know.
Okay.
So it was a lot to like. That was a world of emotions, and like I was in denial. I was like, Hashem could change it. I was like, it's gonna be changed. I was so confident. I was like, it's gonna change. Like I was like, I'm not seeing it straight. And I look back, and it didn't change.
Okay.
But it was a lot. It was a lot to take in.
Take them again.
And like,
so is that what you did yesterday?
No, that's what I did yesterday. I just took it again.
Oh, get out! That's why this is.
So that's why
and that's why you have to go to New York
That's
because
why
they only do X amount of those tests.
No, whatever. There was nothing available. I took a break from rotations, which I wasn't in rotations. I was just studying.
Is that fine to do hypothetically?
No, they take you out of rotations.
Oh, gotcha.
There's no option.
They're like, okay,
It's
now
not
you
like,
need to study.
Yeah, now you need to study. Now you don't have an option. So it was like a little humiliating. You don't have an option. There's no like, oh, if you want to take off, you can take off.
Yeah.
Like no, you can't go. You don't go in.
You can't go on until
you can't go on. No, so you take 8 weeks off, which is what I did. So December I had off because it was a vacation month, and then I did January and February, and then I started again on Monday.
And how'd you feel about this one?
It was the timing was I was a lot more cognizant of the time.
That's good.
For Hashem, the first section of 44 times 4, which is whatever 180. I get all of them. The second section I missed 10. I just clicked through 10. So it was
way better.
It was a hell of a lot better.
Yeah,
I had a lot. I set myself up for success, and the questions I was more confident. It felt better. It's a lot of questions. Thank you.
You'll do great.
But it was just a lot of like rewiring and being like, what happened?
Do you get a
do I want this? Do I think so, but it's fine. I mean, you get 3 tries at that point. After
when you ask yourself, do you want this? Is it because you failed and you're like, I don't want to be rejected, or is it because like you really reevaluate whether or not you wanted it?
No, I think so. It's a fair question. I think it was a lot of like, you don't want to fail again. Like you don't want to fail again.
Yeah.
You don't want to be rejected. It was humiliating, and like, let me just forget this. Like I knew that deep down, like I told my parents, I was like, I didn't study, so like my vacation month ended, and I went through December. It was fun. I had a great time, but it was also like weighing down on me in the back of my head that like reality has to come at some point. And January started, and like I just didn't study. I'd wake up late. I was depressed.
Were you?
Yeah, I think so. I wouldn't move. I just didn't want to study. And my parents were like, "What's happening?" I was like, "I don't know if I want to do this anymore." And they're like, "Well, talk to someone." I was like, "You just want me to talk to someone so that they could say, do this?" Like,
Yeah.
Your end goal is, and like
For you to finish
for
it.
me to finish it, and like maybe that's not what is right. Like, there's like I remember we used to watch this guy growing up, this good looking dude who was going through the pre med process. He'd record himself for 12 hours a day studying, madman. But he had his process through Pomodoro, whatever method he used, and he'd set up his camera and we'd watch him like study as like a sense of like boosting like ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, let's watch him. And he grew out a following like 500,000 followers, just solid for someone that's just going through pre med.
Yeah.
And just talking about his like techniques and how he
Friend
studies.
of the pod.
Friend of the pod, exactly, friend of the pod. And he just dropped a video the other day of the month, titled "Why I Dropped Out of Med School."
No way.
And he was it wasn't med school, it was at a residency. He was in first year residency doing internal medicine, and it just got too much. And it was like,
but too much that you can't go another X amount of like that you've done so much that you can't do anymore.
so everyone says that like, oh, you're at the end, and like
you got these loans and you put so much effort into it and you studied so much and you know so much, like you've done so much, and like you're so proud of yourself for so much of this. Like, isn't there something valuable about like seeing it through, even if you never do it again? Like I told Rachel, like, I don't care if you never practice ultrasound like in your life, if you don't like it. Like, like you went through school for 2 years, you took the boards, you passed, you're done with it. Like, you don't ever have to do it again now because you did it,
Right.
And like, if you don't like it and it's not your thing, then move on. Yeah, for sure. But like you did it, you saw it through.
So go through. Yes, there is this idea, and at the same time, there's this also idea like it just doesn't. There's no like. It's hard to see that
It's hard to see when you're in it.
hard to see when you're in it. It's like you're doing a marathon, and the guy is drained. He's so done. He can't move anymore. But there's a mile left. He can see the finish line.
Yeah.
It'll take time, and he could drag himself across the floor to do it. Versus you take a guy, and now he has this sack of emotions, the trials and tribulations on his shoulder. So is he fatigued, but he has a sack on top of him, and he has to still navigate through more obstacles. It's not like it's at the end like there's just this constant test.
But it's the same mental discipline that I think it takes for both of them.
But yeah, you think so?
I think so. I think that the idea of like saying just one more day or just a little bit more and like I'll quit tomorrow, but like not now. And like if you just keep on pushing it off until you make it through, I think that makes a big difference. I think it's like maybe I'll quit, maybe I won't, but let me decide tomorrow and let me just keep on doing today. And if you just keep on pushing it off and like you put one foot in front of the next, because otherwise it seems like too big of a step for you to possibly take. You're like, how am I going to go back and do this all over again? And everything's on hold, and I can't move on with this. I can't do that.
So much effort,
But like it's just 1 foot, but like 1 foot above the like. But it sounds like you've been doing that,
right?
Like
I mean, so I eventually got out of it.
How'd you do it? Just talk yourself into it. You took your time.
Could we pause it for a second?
Yeah, of course.
Hey.
2. Okay. Yes.
So I got out of it. I spoke to. I called up my Rebbe.
Do you have a consistent Rebbe in your life?
Not consistent. It's someone that like I could always fall back on. Sorry, Rebbe Sandler. I don't know who it is. He was Masada Kedusha, and I always was close with him. And then there's something like I kind of keep in like in and out. Like every couple of months, I'll reach out. So I called him up. It's been a while since I spoke to him, but like I left him a message, and like I guess from the message he knew like he's super busy, he never answers because he's just so busy. But I'll usually get to it like in a day or two, and like an hour or two later he calls, and like I was like, that was really quick. I was like,
are you
he's
okay?
Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And like I said something like, hey, I have something to schmooze with you about, but like he just sounded off. And so he called, and I remember breaking down because I kept it really silent for like a month. This was like a month in, a month and a half, and I didn't tell anyone. And I was like, maybe this is like Kashan telling me like do something else. Like how do you know? How do I know? Like it's a lot, and like I always felt like it was a lot. I enjoyed it. I love what I'm learning. I love
what I'm doing, right?
But it's a lot, and like maybe I'm just happy just as an ENT, and like and who's to say that Hashem's not telling me to do something else. And in the back of my head, I did what I didn't say is also, and I guess he got that. He's a smart man. Like I'm also afraid to fail again. Like
Yeah.
so, like putting myself out there, but like it was also this idea, like I'm done. Like I put so much into it, and like why keep pushing? Like is that the answer?
I think it usually is.
You think it is?
I think that it is, unless you know what I feel like. I feel like there's two types of pain. I feel like there's a type of pain from being quote unquote sore. Like there's a muscle that you haven't exercised in a long time.
Yeah.
And then like when you like when I play basketball, I don't play very often, right? But when I do, my whole body sore the next day. It's body muscles that I haven't used in a long time. And like it hurts, but like it's a healthy hurt. Like like I don't think pain is necessarily bad.
It's a good pain.
Right? Pain could be indicative of things. And so sometimes I break a leg, I'm like, okay, I'm in pain and like I'm forcing myself to do it. I'm not going to recover.
Right.
And I can't keep on forcing myself. Sometimes to help, it's to step back.
Right. Take a break.
And there are times where like, oh, my legs are sore from jogging. That's good. It means that my muscle. It means my muscles getting stronger. It means that I'm growing. It means that I'm doing better. I think that.
So in that sense, do you think you anticipate pain?
For sure, I do.
Like you're like yes, like
no. I just
no. That's what I'm
it.
saying. Like
I don't like it. I expect it.
No, but when it comes, you're like, let me figure out let me figure out how to navigate it. It feels good.
Well, think about this: the difference between a day being extremely productive and you're exhausted at the end of the day, and you go to bed and you're like, "This is awesome! Like I had a great day," or a day where everything felt out of your control and just felt like chaos, and you were just responding to like disaster after disaster, and you got to get into bed and you're like, and you're defeated.
And
what's the difference in those feelings? You're both exhausted. You had a busy day. You probably were productive in both days, but like one of them was like you're beat down, and one of them you're like, I'm okay. I feel good. And so I anticipate the feeling of like this was a good day. This was productive. I worked, I jogged, I recorded, I learned, I helped around the house, I hung out with Rachel and Shua. I was healthy, like in what I ate and drank and consumed, and and I taught well, and now I'm zonked, but like it was all on my terms, and I feel great about it. And then the days where like everything is just a nightmare, and you deal with it, but like
on those days, do you tell yourself like it was a great day? You're like, this is a sucky day.
No, what I'll say is it's been a hard day, and how could I take the rest of the day and make it better now? But that took years of practice. That was my mom had to teach me that when I hated school when I was growing up, and I was very unhappy. And she would teach me from when I was a kid that it's like a certain amount of our time and our effort and our days is in our hands, and like we could choose to make whatever is left of our day good, even if we have a bad day starting off.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, she wrote MAGA, make a good day. MAGD, make a good day.
Kind of like Trump.
Not Trump. No, MAGD.
MAGD. Make a good day.
Yeah, make a good day. Like, and the emphasis on make a good day because it's like taking responsibility and choosing to make a good day,
right?
Not like let a good day happen to you. Like,
but I'm not even saying that. I'm saying, like on those days where you pushed, you didn't get any deals done, but you just pushed the whole day.
Oh yes, so the days that I feel like I did, I feel like I did everything I could.
Feel bad about it?
No, I do because I'm like I did everything in my control. Like that's what I was saying, right? There's weeks where I'll have like 6 or 7 leads, like hot leads and customers that are ready to go, and I'm doing everything right. I send them quotes right away. I text them to follow up. I'm calling them to follow up. I'm reminding them. I'm working them on price. Who else are you talking to? What other machines are you thinking about? Let me see what I could do for you, and I lose the deal. I can't do anything about that. Right. It's a crappy feeling, but like you did everything you could. And then there's the customers where like I forgot to get back to them, and then they're like, "Oh, I bought it from someone else," and I'm like, "Oh, crap, that was my fault."
But you shouldn't feel bad about those days where you didn't do any deals because you still pushed this.
Yes,
thing,
exactly.
Right? Obviously, it's out of your control.
Right, but you're telling me that you didn't take this as seriously, right?
Right.
This test as seriously. So, like the difference if you failed now, the feeling you would experience, I'm sure, would be very different than the first feeling that you had.
Yes, but not that I didn't take it seriously. The studying.
I don't mean when I say take it seriously.
Was 100%. I studied my heart out for a long time. It was just my approach at the time in the moment was, I got this. It's going to be fine. Whatever happens, happens. But it was a little bit more relaxed on that day. I should have done a better time with time management in my head. So that's what it was. But like I think we need to do a better job of like. A lot of things are out of our control, especially studying all day. Like this past 2 months of studying, it's not a good. Yeah, you're getting, but like you turn around, you do another 44 questions, and like there's so much more information that you didn't know. Like and it's the sucky feeling. Like, where did I get? Like, how did I progress? I just did so many. I just did a month, and now I just got 22 out of the 44 questions.
Wins.
And like, it's like exhausting and draining on you to be like, but like, no, you pushed that. Actually, we need to do a better job of it.
And we need little wins in order to keep on going. Like, it feel like for me, the podcast, if it feels good to have a little win to say I had 6 listeners today and 10 listeners. You
can see how many listeners.
Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah.
I don't usually check because it's not healthy. But
just like not looking in your bank account.
I'll check every couple of weeks just to see like how a recent episode did. But
you can see how long they listen to it, or you just see that.
No, how many listens they got. And
if they just press play, that's a listen.
No, I think I'm supposed to X amount of time.
Oh,
I'm not sure, like a certain percentage of the episode.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're saying we need to do a better job of like that?
No, because I think little wins help you keep you on that path. Like I may not have gotten that big win today, but I got something done. I may not have done this, but I got that done.
Right.
Like I may not, like last time I didn't get all 44 questions right. I knew more than 20.
Right.
And like that's a win. But like what you're saying, if everything just looks like a flood and you feel like you're on ground zero over and over and over again,
and you're working.
I don't know how people do that. I mean, I could never do it, dude. I can never do it. I can never do med school. I don't know if I could do law school.
It's a lot. And yeah.
You get a lot of credit for doing this.
Thank you.
Doing and for making this the fact that this is like a journey, shows that there's thoughtfulness, intentionality, and character development that's all been happening in tandem. Because like if this was just like an easy thing for you, like you have people that like graduated med school and they're like 22, because they started college when they're like 14, and like, I mean, maybe it was hard for them at some point, but like, it's not the same thing, like when you have a journey and you start and stop and figure out what's holding you back, and then you acknowledge and you move forward, and then you stop again and you have to do more work, and then like you're going to end up being a much better person because every step along the way is much more refined and thought out and you're more developed as a human being. You're now instead of being a kid, you're a husband and a father and and a growing family, and seeing your kids grow and seeing the responsibilities develop, and like how that impacts you, and your maturity and your experience in life is going up with your journey, and you could kind of see like what what bothers you isn't the same what bothered you, I'm sure, 5 years ago.
Right.
And what's meaningful is not the same thing either. And the fact that you have like a journey to point to and like say that you lived,
it makes it more real.
It's amazing,
and it puts and it means a lot more. So now going back, I'm assuming it's gonna mean a lot more, because going through that phone call, which was a big deal to even get there, to like be like, you know what, like I need advice. I felt bad calling him because I was like, I want to decide for myself that this is something that I want to do, and I don't want to like get outside help. So like to be like, okay, you know what, like I gotta reset and call him, and I kind of asked him, like, why did it happen? He's like, why does it happen? He's like, why does
anything?
He said, he's like, what the hell does that happen? He's like, I'll tell you something else. He's like, I have someone, he said, that went through dental school, became an orthodontist, and after that whole process, he developed a tremor in his hand. The guy didn't work a day in his life. He said he blew how much money on student loans, and now he has a tremor, and now he has to do real estate. Why does that happen? I was like, that's a fair point. That's a lot. I can't imagine that. He's like, your pain. He's like, let's focus. He's just focused on that. And he said this unbelievable parable to end. Like, and I gotta call him to ask him again the intricacies, because he was talking about diamonds, and he's like, I don't know if you know diamonds. He's like, no one wants to
apply the pressure.
No one wants to. He's like, apparently you don't touch a diamond. He's like, you leave it as it is because you're afraid to do something to it once you form it.
Okay.
Maybe it was back in the day. Now they didn't have the cutting edge technology.
Sure. Well, also we have lab grown ones now.
You're right. You have lab grown ones, but he's talking about like real ones. He's like, you leave it as it is in its pure form, because if you touch it, there's so much that could go wrong, and it's better just to leave it.
Yeah.
But he said that there was one time where something accidentally fell on the diamond, and it got a chisel and needed to be restructured and reframed. And he said the guy took the diamond, and once it happened, he reframed it in a way and made it the most beautiful thing.
Yeah.
that and like way nicer than it could have been, but it after it took its form, right?
Yeah, but it had to break
but
a
it
little
needed
bit
to be
first.
break a little
Yeah.
bit, and he's like, and everyone's like, wow, how would you do? And he's like, I messed it. He's like,
Yeah.
I applied pressure and I cut it. They're like, you cut it? He's like, yeah, I needed to do it, and I was forced to do it, and now all of a sudden, look what I produced.
It's amazing.
And like he said it was along those lines.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can't wait to see your practice or something you're gonna build.
That's what, like, yeah,
like that.
I'm
and
with
like,
him.
and he was like, we'll be in touch. And
It's
like, he was
beautiful.
so busy.
Yeah.
And I was like, thank you so much. And that was it.
So you feel better.
Yeah. And I was like, and he's like, you need to reset,
It's
start
good
again.
perspective. It's really
He's
good
like, you're
perspective.
doing it. He wasn't like, it was not like, I was like, I don't know. He's like, you're doing it. He's like, continue. It wasn't like, oh, maybe Hashem is telling you. He's like, Hashem's
Yeah.
not telling you that.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, maybe he is. He's like, he's not. He's like, I was like, okay. So he's like, continue. It wasn't like he wasn't giving me an option to be like, and I knew deep down that I wanted to do it. It was just more like,
Yeah, it was
trying to
disheartening.
navigate.
Yeah,
It was
for sure.
disheartening, and all those other things. And I'm happy I'm here now.
Good for you, dude.
Thank
Should
you.
we? So we'll rest here. We'll come back in another little bit
Another episode.
with another episode, and we'll do this, and we'll see. We'll check back in and see what's going on.
Yeah, this was super cool. Thanks to all friends of the pod.
All the friends of the pod. There's a live outro. Bye, everyone. Bye, Shua. Say bye.
Take care. Bye.